Hearing Shen Ruyan's words, Dongfeng Tangxing's heart immediately filled with joy. In his mind, if he could invite even 2 heavenly lords to help, it would already be a great success. It would be even better if there were 3. However, what he didn't expect was that there would be 4. Although Dongfeng Tangxing was unaware that Jiang Chengxuan had broken through to soul formation, Jiang Chengxuan's demonstration of strength during the previous battle was evident to all. He could certainly be considered a combatant of the soul formation level. Of course, in this situation, the person Dongfeng Tangxing valued the most was Shen Ruyan. She had just ascended to soul formation and had already slain 3 heavenly lords. Even Zhao Shenji and Wu Xin suffered defeats at her hands. In the entire northern border, which soul formation force had the deepest foundation, it was definitely the Purple Sun Palace. However, which soul formation heavenly lord in the northern border was the strongest? Dongfeng Tangxing believed that, based on Shen Ruyan's performance, if she claimed to be the second strongest, no one would dare claim to be the first. At that moment, Dongfeng Tangxing nodded happily. With several of you willing to go to the western desert to help in the battle, I believe this time, we can definitely make the eastern end and central plain return without any success. After that, everyone discussed more specific details of the plan. When everything was almost set, Dongfeng Tangxing took Shui Xianlin and others and left Mount Mystic Tai to head towards the super-large cross-region teleportation array leading to the western desert. This was the foundation of their alliance. As allies, the super-large cross-region teleportation arrays connecting each other should naturally be open to one another. A few months later, at the edge of the abyss of celestial beasts outside the western desert, hundreds of large floating warships impressively appeared with a magnificent momentum. On them several terrifying auras, profound and oceanic, terrified the demon beasts in the sea. Not to mention coming out to provoke and stop them, even the moment they sensed the terrifying auras, they all dived into the deep sea and did not dare to rashly appear. Under such circumstances, the cultivators on the large floating warships quickly began setting up defensive lines and arrays. In just a few months, a super-large war fortress appeared at the edge of the abyss of celestial beasts, extending deep into the sea area. Above it, level 6 array flickered with light. This turned the area into a formidable and sturdy defensive line. Deep within the abyss of celestial beasts, several huge figures emitting terrifying auras stared coldly at the massive fortress radiating endless light at the edge of the distant sea. Ice-cold hostility flickered in their eyes. Suddenly, an enormous shadow let out a deep and angry voice. The humans have gone too far. They act so boldly on our territory. Don't you think we should do something? Hearing this, a figure as large as an island responded with a cold laugh. Do what? It's a special period now. What can we do? You want our entire clan to be abandoned by this world. They know very well that we dare not touch them at this moment. That's why they are so brazen in front of us. All right. At this moment, a deep voice slowly spoke up. Anyway, it's a special period now, and we can't easily make a move against the humans. If we do, we might fall into their trap. But just because we can't act doesn't mean others can't. I know that there is intense infighting among humans. Maybe we can use this opportunity to let them fight each other and deplete their own strength. When this period is over, our demon race might be able to take action. You mean to tell the humans in the eastern and central plane about what is happening here? That's right. Let them fight among themselves. No matter who wins or loses, it will significantly weaken their overall strength. Tell our young ones not to get close to the humans, to avoid getting caught in the crossfire and losing their lives for nothing. Not long after, Xiao Shenkang, Xiao Shenji, Wu Xin, and Taoist Shang Tong, who were ready to advance towards the western desert, suddenly received a message. The message came from the abyss of celestial beasts. It detailed not only the alliance between the western desert and the northern border, but also the establishment of a super-large defensive line at the edge and within the abyss of celestial beasts. This news caused Xiao Shenkang, Xiao Shenji, and others to furrow their brows. Xiao Shenji, with a cold glint in his eyes, said sternly, "That Dongfeng Tangxing and Murong Xian, they truly seek death, daring to ally with the northern border to oppose us. They deserve to die. It seems they have been planning this for a while." Wu Xin added gravely, Our attempt to take over the sect of infinite boundaries in the Western Desert might require more effort than expected. That is very true. Xiao Shenkong nodded slightly. Fortunately, before coming here, His Majesty granted me the ethereal glow of the Nine Heavens saber. With this saber in hand, even if the other side has some trump cards, they won't be able to withstand us. Even if Shen Ruyan is there, it will be the same. Hearing Xiao Shenkong mention Shen Ruyan, the faces of Xiao Shenji and Wu Xin in the room turned somewhat ugly. What happened that day had truly embarrassed and humiliated them to a great extent. Everyone, do you think that the demon race of the abyss of celestial beasts informing us of this could be part of a plot? Suddenly, Taoist Shang Tong seemed to have thought of something and could not help but ask suspiciously. Hearing his words, Xiao Shenkong, Xiao Shenji, Wu Xin, and the others could not help but sneer. A plot? In my opinion, it's an open strategy. They clearly want us to engage in a bitter fight with the Western Desert and the northern border so that they can reap the benefits later. But I believe it won't take long for them to lose the mood to watch the drama unfold. More than 10 days later, on the battle fortress at the edge of the abyss of celestial beasts, suddenly someone rang the warning bell 12 times. Clang, clang, clang. With the sound of the alarm bell, Shui Xianlin, Glowleaf, Su Qingqian, Sword Lord Azure Blue, and Jiang Anren appeared one after another above the war fortress. They looked up. They saw that within the abyss of celestial beasts, a fleet of imposing large warships had appeared, each one brimming with cultivators. However, it was quickly noted that many cultivators on these ships were dressed in tattered clothes, their auras weak. It was evident that these were the southern wilderness cultivators captured by the eastern end and the central plain. Were they intending to use these captives as cannon fodder to deplete the strength of the defenders? This was very possible. At the very least, with everyone's understanding of the cultivators from their two regions, it was not surprising that they would do such a thing. Boom! After a long time. After a while, the large warships, resembling fierce beasts, hovered about 10,000 miles away from the war fortress. Soon, cultivators dressed in the attire of various sects from the eastern end and the central plain approached the fortress and shouted loudly, "What do you mean by this? Seeing the people from the eastern and central plain, why aren't you making way for us to enter? Could it be that you really want to become enemies with us?" Hearing this, Shui Xianlin, Su Qingqian, and others on the war fortress sneered. Did these people not get any advice from their elders before coming here? Who gave them the audacity to bark so wildly in front of us? As they spoke, numerous beams of light rose from the fortress, transforming into terrifying columns of light that shot towards the approaching cultivators. Boom! Instantly, dozens of people were hit by the light columns, turning into fireworks in the sky, screaming as they vanished without a trace. This scene utterly terrified the remaining ones. They never thought that facing the cultivators from the eastern end and the central plain, these people did not even have the intention to talk to them. Instead, they directly attacked. Run quickly! The surviving cultivators didn't dare to stay any longer, frantically fleeing back in the direction they came from. Go back and tell your people, if they insist on entering the Western Desert, ask them if they are ready to meet their end. Someone from the fortress shouted after them. The people who were fleeing crazily suddenly heard a voice coming from behind them. All of them were shocked. They're insane. Those people must be insane. In the past, they were always flattered wherever they went. They did not expect the other party to be so unyielding. Nor did they expect to be attacked so mercilessly. Soon, these fleeing cultivators returned to their own large warships. Without hesitation, they relayed their encounter and the words they heard, even exaggerating the details to their elders. Immediately, a terrifying aura of killing intent erupted from the large warships of the eastern end and the central plain. Accompanying this was a series of angry shouts. After a while, dozens of warships surged forward, heading straight towards the war fortress. Boom! As the large warships drew near, each one activated their spiritual chi cannons, which emitted dazzling light beams, and began bombarding the war fortress in unison. Buzz! In an instant, a dazzling light ring lit up on top of the fortress, blocking all the incoming spiritual chi cannons. Swoosh! At the same time, in the high sky, a supremely bright pillar of light suddenly rose. In just a moment, it evaporated 7 or 8 warships positioned at the forefront into nothingness. In the distance, Xiao Shenkang, along with Xiao Shenji, Wu Xin, and others who witnessed this scene, couldn't help but have a slight change in their expressions. If I'm not mistaken, that should be the level 6 reverse starfall array, a super large array that combines defense and offense. Wu Xin suddenly spoke slowly. Upon hearing his words, Xiao Shenkang, Xiao Shenji, and Taoist Shang Tong all had slightly serious expressions. They were well aware that the so-called reverse starfall array was a threat even for them, the soul formation heavenly lords. If things went wrong, it was very likely that they would suffer a loss or even be severely injured. So, to break this array, aside from the need for a corresponding level 6 array master, the most reliable method would be sacrificing lives to deplete the array's power. They believed that maintaining such a large array must consume astronomical resources. It all came down to who could endure longer in the end. Therefore, in the following period of time, on their side, Xiao Shenkang and his team continuously dispatched numerous warships and cultivators to attack the reserve starfall array. Some nascent soul cultivators even became cannon fodder in this war. As for the Violet Palace and Golden Core cultivators, the number was even greater. It could be said that right from the beginning, Xiao Shenkang and his team pushed this war into an extremely intense situation. On the fortress, Shui Xianlin, Su Qingqian, perfected Lord Wind Cloud, Sword Lord Azure Blue, and others watched the many warships and cultivators charging towards them as if in a suicidal manner, their expressions becoming extremely serious. What are those people up to? Even nascent souls are being used to wear down the array. Are they crazy? They're not crazy. Su Qingqian suddenly shook her head. With a heavy expression, she continued, have you not noticed? The cultivators being sacrificed are not from their eastern end and central plain. Huh? Prompted by Su Qingqian's reminder, everyone present also realized it. Indeed, those people seemed to be cultivators from the southern wilderness who were captured by them. They seem to be under some kind of restriction. Even nascent soul perfected lords can't control themselves. Shui Xianlin spoke with an ugly expression. This was something they hadn't anticipated at the beginning of the war. The eastern end and central plain were actually using southern wilderness cultivators they had captured as the first cannon fodder in this battle. Moreover, they employed such cruel methods. Needless to say, the means to control even nascent soul perfected lords were undoubtedly the work of some soul formation heavenly lords. Is there any way to break their control? After all, what they are consuming now is just a group of captives that are insignificant in their eyes. For the eastern end and central plain, they haven't expended much power. Meanwhile, we are truly consuming our resources. Difficult, affected Lord Wind Cloud said in a deep voice. Because that is a control method at the soul formation level. With our abilities, attempting to break it is akin to an ant challenging a tree. Moreover, up to this point, we still don't know what method they are using exactly, so how can we talk about breaking it? Upon hearing perfected Lord Wind Cloud's words, Jiang Anren, who was at the side, suddenly spoke. I might have someone who knows about their method. Huh? Everyone looked at her with surprise. Su Qingqian smiled and said, Anren, you know. Jiang Anren replied, it's not that I know, but someone on my side might know. If you don't mind, I can bring them over. Also, my Shifu is also aware of this matter. Shui Xianlin said, since both Senior Jiang and Senior Shen are aware of this matter, then there should be no problem. Anren, bring them over. I have no objections. I have no problem either. Su Qingqian also smiled in agreement. Affected Lord Wind Cloud and Sword Lord Azure Blue nodded seriously. And so, in no time, 2 cultivators with auras that were almost on par with everyone present were brought over by Jiang Anren. The 2 of them were none other than Wu Bingyun and perfected Lord Nether Star, who had escaped from the southern wilderness earlier on. Seeing the 2 of them, Shui Xianlin, Su Qingqian, and the rest could not help but feel their hearts skip a beat. Because they could sense that, in terms of cultivation alone, these 2 individuals were not much weaker than them. Especially perfected Lord Nether Star. His cultivation was comparable to several people present, reaching the 9th level of nascent soul. At this moment, Jiang Anren spoke to the 2 of them. Fellow Taoist Wu and fellow Taoist Nether Star, I'll have to trouble you to tell us what exactly happened. For a moment, everyone's attention focused on Wu Bingyun and perfected Lord Nether Star. Wu Bingyun and perfected Lord Nether Star exchanged a glance. Then perfected Lord Nether Star spoke. Fellow Taoists, regarding our identities, you probably already know. Yes, we are from the southern wilderness. My Shifu is the heavenly Lord Scripture Abyss. Although fellow Taoist Wu here is not a disciple of my supreme celestial sect, the Ice Jade Palace where she belongs was once a subordinate sect of mine. So, we have some understanding of the current situation. To be frank, they should be under the control of a kind of goo called mind control goo. Mind control goo. When they heard that name, the pupils of Shui Xianlan Su Qingchen, perfected Lord Wind Cloud, Sword Lord Azure Blue and the others constricted slightly. Clearly, as disciples of the Soul Formation sect, their knowledge was far beyond that of ordinary cultivators. They were quite familiar with the mind control goo mentioned by perfected Lord Nether Star. It was a peculiar goo that could control the soul and spirit of a cultivator. It even ranked 32nd among the most bizarre insects of the world. If it's mind control goo, then everything makes sense. Sword Lord Azure Blue frowned. As far as I know, this kind of insect can multiply in large numbers. It can control cultivators from the chi refinement to the nascent soul, and cultivators themselves are powerless to resist. But what I don't understand is, wasn't this type of goo supposed to have become extinct a long time ago? Even the methods to refine such insects seem to have been lost. How did the eastern end and central plane obtain these kinds of goo? This was indeed a big mystery. After all, the effects of such insects were too bizarre. With a slight oversight, even they themselves could potentially fall victim to them. If the eastern end and central plane truly possessed the refinement methods for these goo, it would be extremely bad news for the western desert and northern border. I happen to know a thing or two about this matter. At that moment, perfected Lord Nether Star spoke again. Surely you've heard of the sect of divine artifacts in the southern wilderness, haven't you? Sect of divine artifacts. Hearing this name, Shui Xianlan, Su Qingchen, and the others nodded their heads. They were naturally aware of this sect. It was once a famous sect specializing in artifact refinement. Although it didn't have a soul formation heavenly lord presiding over it, it possessed several level 6 pure yang treasures. Moreover, the treasures and artifacts they refined were all considered top-notch, highly sought after by many cultivators. There were even many cultivators from other regions who had traveled a long way to the southern wilderness, seeking the help of their master artifact refiners. However, this renowned sect was jointly annihilated by cultivators from the eastern end and central plain during the southern wilderness upheaval. As that information flashed through his mind, perfected Lord Nether Star said again, as far as I know, within that sect, there is the secret method for refining the mind control goo. They came across it by chance and originally intended to trade the method for refining the mind control goo with my Shifu. Unfortunately, before the deal was sealed, the people from the eastern and central plain unilaterally broke the agreement and launched an attack on various sects in the southern wilderness. Now, it seems that the mind control goo has fallen into their hands. I see. After hearing perfected Lord Nether Star's words, everyone present could not help but come to a realization. But soon they furrowed their brows again. Perfected Lord Wind Cloud said, although we now know the method they used to control those southern wilderness cultivators, we still have no clue on how to break it. I wonder if fellow Taoist Nether Star and Wu have any suggestions. He knew that Jiang Anren brought them here for the purpose of solving the current problem. So, at the moment he finished speaking, the gaze of everyone present focused on the two individuals. At this moment, Wu Bingyun took a deep breath and looked at everyone present. To be honest, although the mind control goo is powerful and can control the soul and spirit of cultivators, it also has its natural enemies. As far as I know, the greatest natural enemy of the mind control goo is the silent golden cicada, which ranks 15th on the list of bizarre insects in the world. Huh? Hearing Wu Bingyun's words, Shui Xianlan, Su Qingchen and the rest were stunned. Clearly, they were not aware of what Wu Bingyun was talking about. Wu Bingyun continued, although the silent golden cicada is silent, it emits a special frequency specifically targeting mind control goo. As long as the mind control goo is affected by this special frequency, they will lose all their mobility in an instant, naturally unable to control the cultivators they were controlling. Coincidentally, the previous palace master of the Ice Jade Palace nurtured such a silent golden cicada. As she spoke, Wu Bingyun flipped her jade hand, revealing a golden cicada with black patterns on its wings. This is the silent golden cicada. Everyone looked at the small creature in Wu Bingyun's hand, somewhat incredulous. It was hard to believe that such a tiny creature could be the natural enemy of the mind control goo. What should we do next? Xu Xianlin looked at Wu Bingyun and asked. Clearly, everyone was considering the same question at the moment. With just this one silent golden cicada, would they be able to deal with so many mind control goo? Wu Bingyun evidently understood the thoughts of everyone. She continued, as I mentioned earlier, as long as the mind control goo affected by the special frequency emitted by the silent golden cicada, they will lose all mobility in an instant. So, next, as long as I take it and walk around those controlled cultivators, it will make those controlled people stop moving. Wu Bingyun's method, to be honest, was the simplest and most effective. The only thing to be careful of was to ensure her safety once the opponents realized this. In that case, let me and fellow Taoist Cloud Wind go with you to give it a try. Su Qingchen looked at Wu Bingyun and perfected Lord Nether Star. I wonder what the two of you think. Upon hearing Su Qingchen's proposal, Wu Bingyun and perfected Lord Nether Star had no objections. In fact, they came here specifically to solve the current situation. Of course, if there was a chance, they wouldn't mind killing some cultivators from the eastern and central plain to seek revenge for their fellow disciples. Soon, Wu Bingyun, perfected Lord Nether Star, Su Qingchen and perfected Lord Wind Cloud flew out of the range of the battle fortress and appeared around the captive cultivators. Buzz! As soon as they appeared, the wings of the silent golden cicada in Wu Bingyun's hand lightly shook. In the next moment, a silent frequency spread rapidly. Those southern wilderness captive cultivators, who were rushing towards them and the war fortress in a suicidal manner, suddenly froze in unison. Then the cultivators began to rain down like dumplings, plop, 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 continuously falling. They were all captured by the cultivators that Jiang Anren and the others had arranged here in advance. Just in this short period, nearly a quarter of the southern wilderness captive cultivators in this area were affected by the silent golden cicada. Moreover, this trend was rapidly increasing as Wu Bingyun swiftly flew over the battlefield. In the distance, the eastern end and central plain cultivators, who were closely monitoring the situation, finally noticed something was wrong. They watched as the southern wilderness captive cultivators fell uncontrollably, and their eyes widened in astonishment. Especially those who refined mind control goo and were responsible for manipulating a portion of the cultivators, felt clearly that the connection between themselves and those mind control goo was severed. What is going on? Why is the connection between me and those mind control goo gone? Can someone tell me what is happening? Someone exclaimed. When all the southern wilderness captive cultivators they sent out were completely defeated, it finally alarmed many late-stage nascent soul cultivators present, with Crown Prince Xiao Longshan being the leader. Although he was only at the 8th level of nascent soul, his status and prestige among the others were the highest. As he listened to everyone's reports, his expression darkened. Perfected Lord Thunder Law from the Eastern Three Suns sect, after looking at those who spoke, turned to Crown Prince Xiao Longshan and said, Your Highness, this matter is indeed suspicious. If we don't figure out the situation, even if we send the rest of the southern wilderness captives over again, they might not come back. Upon hearing his words, Chu Guangli from the eastern end Chu family nodded. That's right, the first thing we need to do is to figure out the situation. Why have those people suddenly ended up like this? I think I might know what's going on. At this moment, a cultivator from the Gate of Arcane Runes in Central Plain spoke, furrowing his brows. The Gate of Arcane Runes that this person was from was also a soul formation sect in the Central Plain. It was also known as one of the people with the highest chance of breaking through to the soul formation in the Gate of Arcane Runes. His name was Perfected Lord Yangshan. He looked at everyone and continued, If my guess is correct, those people, or more precisely, the mind control goo in their bodies, should have encountered its natural enemy. Encountered its natural enemy. Upon hearing Yangshan's words, not only Perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli, but even Crown Prince Xiao Longshan showed a hint of surprise on their faces. That makes sense. Perfected Lord Xianxia nodded. As far as I know, the natural enemy of mind control goo is the 15th rank bizarre insect, the silent golden cicada. Once the mind control goo encounters the silent golden cicada, they will lose all mobility and become things that can be slaughtered at will. Silent golden cicada. Upon hearing this name, Prince Xiao Tianlong and others couldn't help but be taken aback. Clearly, with their knowledge, they had heard of such strange insects. But the problem was, who in the current alliance of the western desert and northern border possessed the silent golden cicada? Mind control goo was such a secret insect. How did those people know about it? Was it really just a coincidence? As if reading the thoughts of Xiao Longshan and the others, perfected Lord Xianxia thought for a moment and said, "To find out who among them possesses the silent golden cicada is rather simple. We just need to carefully observe for a while and see whose influence over the mind control goo is the most significant. That person is likely the one holding the silent golden cicada. Our task is then to either seize the silent golden cicada, kill it, or eliminate the person holding it. Only by doing so can we permanently resolve the issue of their mind control goo affecting us." That makes sense. After hearing perfected Lord Xianxia's words, Crown Prince Xiao Longshan could not help but nod in agreement. "In that case, I entrust you with full authority for the next steps. Once you discover the person holding the silent golden cicada, you, along with Thunder Law and fellow Taoist Chu, must immediately take action. Strive to kill the person holding the silent golden cicada in the shortest time possible." "Yes," the response was prompt. With that said, their side dispatched several dozen warships once again, each filled with captive cultivators from the southern wilderness. All of these captives shared the common trait of being implanted with mind control goo. As the dozens of battleships flew over again, Wu Bingyun, perfected Lord Netherstar, Su Qingchen, perfected Lord Windcloud, and the others narrowed their eyes immediately. Su Qingchen spoke, "Fellow Taoist Wu, the people from the eastern end and central plain have likely discovered the abnormality. However, they are still sending a large number of southern wilderness captive cultivators. I suspect they may already have a clue as to why those captives are out of control. The reason why they are still doing this is probably to find you. To be cautious, let's stick together. This way we can confuse them, making it difficult for them to discern who is actually holding the cicada. Also, we can ensure your safety at all times." Su Qingchen's suggestion received unanimous agreement from those present. At this moment, the four of them acted together. Under the unique frequency emitted by the silent golden cicada, those southern wilderness captive cultivators sent to them were quickly captured, once again. Seeing this situation, Xiao Longshan, perfected Lord Thunder Law, and perfected Lord Yangshan, who were in the distance, frowned slightly. Xiao Longshan spoke coldly. "It seems that things are indeed as fellow Taoist Yangshan speculated. Among those people, there is indeed someone who possesses the mind control goo's natural enemy, the silent golden cicada." He then looked towards Yangshan and asked, "How is it? Have you figured out who among those individuals possesses the silent golden cicada?" Upon hearing Xiao Longshan's question, perfected Lord Yangshan, who was closely observing the situation in the distance, suddenly narrowed his eyes and said in a gloomy voice, "Your Highness, I think I already know who holds the silent golden cicada among them." "Huh?" His words immediately drew the attention of Xiao Longshan and perfected Lord Thunder Law. Yangshan nodded and said, "Crown Prince, do you still remember that on that day, when we were in the Supreme Celestial Sect, we did not find the personal disciple of Scripture Abyss?" Are you saying?" The expressions of Xiao Longshan and the others could not help but change. "Could it be?" "That's right." Yangshan nodded and said, "I have identified the personal disciple of Scripture Abyss and a cultivator from the Ice Jade Palace among those people. Although they have made disguises in appearance and aura, it is still unlikely for them to deceive my discerning eyes. Now, I am very certain that the person holding the silent golden cicada must be the cultivator from the Ice Jade Palace or Nether Star. Fellow Taoist Thunder Law, fellow Taoist Chu." After hearing Yangshan's words, Xiao Longshan immediately looked towards perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli. "I'm afraid I'll have to trouble you for the rest. While they are still not fully prepared, I hope you can thoroughly deal with these two. Similarly, I believe, with your strength, taking care of those two individuals should not be too difficult. Xiao Longshan was well aware that both perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli had one foot set in soul formation. Don't even mention ordinary late-stage nascent soul cultivators. Even peak nascent soul peak cultivators would quickly succumb when facing them, let alone the fact that they are currently joining forces. The synergy created by their collaboration was definitely more than a simple addition of their individual strengths. Perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli were confident in themselves, and upon hearing Xiao Longshan's words, they immediately nodded with a smile. Rest assured, Your Highness, you can leave this matter to us. Having said that, perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli, along with a group of cultivators, headed directly towards Su Qingshan and the others. Sensing two extremely powerful auras rapidly approaching them, Su Qingshan, perfected Lord Nether Star, Wu Bingyun, and perfected Lord Wind Cloud all had their expressions slightly change. Almost immediately, they felt that the opponent's strength was significantly above their own. It seems that the other party has already noticed the situation on our side. The four of them exchanged glances. Suddenly, a huge seal suddenly appeared in Su Qingshan's hand. The seal exuded an ancient and heavy aura. As soon as it appeared, the surrounding void seemed to distort. In the midst of the void, two more figures suddenly appeared. They were Shui Xianlin and Sword Lord Azure Blue. Seeing that two cultivators at the 9th level of nascent soul had suddenly appeared on Wu Bingyun's side, perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli's heart skipped a beat. If they had some confidence in dealing with Wu Bingyun and the other three just now, then they really did not have much confidence now. After all, they were only half a step into soul formation and weren't real soul formation heavenly lords. Facing 5 nascent soul cultivators at the 9th level, they could at most barely contend. Since you decide to come, then we won't let you return easily. A chilling killing intent appeared on Shui Xianlin's face. Then a small white jade sword suddenly appeared in her hand. A terrifying aura erupted from the white jade's small sword. The expressions of perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli suddenly changed. What? That is pure Yang Talisman Treasure. The so-called pure Yang Talisman Treasure was refined by extracting a strand of essence from the pure Yang True Treasure, carried by the Soul Formation Heavenly Lord. It sealed the true power of the level 6 pure Yang True Treasure, and also contained a trace of the Soul Formation Heavenly Lord's aura. It was a truly top-notch level 6 treasure. Once deployed, not to mention perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli, even a Soul Formation Heavenly Lord who had just broken through would be wary. Clearly, the sect of infinite boundaries where she was from, her Shifu, Dongfeng Tianxing, had really invested a lot this time. He was actually willing to use the level 6 pure Yang True Treasure he carried with him, the Limitless Sword, to create a level 6 pure Yang Talisman Treasure. It was worth noting that Dongfeng Tianxing's actions would inevitably cause certain damage to his pure Yang True Treasure. However, he had clearly decided to go all out to gain an advantage in this war. The white jade small sword in Shui Xianlin's hand was the best proof of this. Run quickly. This time, perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli couldn't care less about killing Wu Bingyun or perfected Lord Nether Star. The two now regretted not being fast enough. After all, a level 6 pure Yang Talisman treasure was extremely precious and rare. Because generally, Soul Formation Heavenly Lords wouldn't be willing to take such a risk. Even with their status and identity, they didn't have such things on them. Buzz. However, their reactions were clearly a step too slow. Just as they turned around, the white jade small sword in Shui Xianlin's hand suddenly erupted with an extremely dazzling light. The terrifying aura firmly locked onto perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli, causing a momentary stiffness in their bodies. Damn it! Both of them roared in their hearts. At this moment, they felt not only anger but also fear. They could no longer care about anything else. The nascent soul in their bodies began to burn crazily. Obviously, they couldn't care whether doing so would cut off their Tao path forward. What a joke! If they didn't even have their lives, what was there to talk about the future? Now, nothing was more important than running for their lives. Buzz. Boom. In an instant, a dazzling blood-colored light rose from perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli. There was a click. The aura that confined the space around them was finally forcefully broken by them at this moment. A hint of joy appeared on both of their faces. Next, they had no time to think. In a flash, they tried to escape from the aura exuded by the white Jade sword. However, just as the two of them had flown a few miles forward, suddenly, 4 figures appeared in front of them. It was Xianxia, perfected Lord Windcloud, Sword Lord Azure Blue, and perfected Lord Netherstar. 4 of them wasted no time. They all exerted their full strength. In an instant, various divine powers, sword lights, storms, and surging waves formed a dam blocking perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli. Their faces, which had just shown a hint of joy, turned desperate in an instant. You! Boom! In an instant, an incredibly powerful energy erupted. Xianxia, perfected Lord Windcloud, Sword Lord Azure Blue, and perfected Lord Netherstar all took a step back. One couldn't deny that perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli, who were burning their nascent soul, possessed formidable strength. With just one collision, they almost repelled Xianxia and the others. However, although they had almost pushed back Xianxia and the others, this slight delay caused them to lose the best opportunity to escape. Suddenly, a dazzling white sword light appeared behind the two of them, sweeping over them with a momentum that seemed to cut through everything. In an instant, everything seemed to fall silent. Perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli widened their eyes. Their faces were filled with unwillingness and disbelief, as if unable to accept that they, who were just a step away from entering soul formation, would die here for nothing. As this last thought crossed their minds, their figures quickly dissipated under the dazzling white light, completely turning into nothingness, body and soul extinguished. Seeing this, Xianxia, Xianxia, and the others were shocked. They couldn't have dreamed that things would take such a turn. After all, in their opinion, with the strength of perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli, even if they were truly defeated, as long as there was no soul formation Heavenly Lord present, there should be no problem for them to escape. Damn it! Xianxia's face quickly turned grim. The veins on his hands bulged, and his eyes were bloodshot. One had to know that the just defeated perfected Lord Thunder Law and Chu Guangli were his closest allies. Now that they were gone, it was undoubtedly a tremendous loss for him personally. On the side, Xianxia, though shocked, was relatively clear-headed. He immediately advised Xianxia, who also seemed to want to use the pure Yang talisman treasure. Your Highness, now is not the time for a full-scale war with them. Even if we use our trump cards, we should wait for the right moment. This advice from Xianxia was sincere. After all, their war had only lasted for a few days. Even though they suffered heavy losses, being impulsive was not the right thing to do, especially considering the opponent's possession of a level 6 array. No matter how powerful your pure Yang talisman treasure was. At that time, as long as they hid in the array, could the pure Yang talisman treasure shake the level 6 array? Most importantly, Xianxia could clearly see that Xianxia of the Everlasting Palace had the array disc in her hands. She could enter and exit the array at will, and she could even lead others to enter the array together. It was clear that they had the advantage so far in this battle. If they wanted to achieve something, the first thing to deal with was the opponent's level 6 array. He believed that the reason why the Soul Formation Seniors sent them here should be for this purpose. After all, without breaking the level 6 array, even if Soul Formation Heavenly Lords came, it would still be difficult for them to achieve anything. Phew! Finally, Xianxia let out a long breath. His expression gradually returned to calm from the previous coldness. He turned to look at Xianxia and nodded. Fellow Taoist Xianxia, you're right. This battle will not end in a day or two. In the future, I will definitely take revenge for Thunder Law and Brother Chu. At the same time, outside the war fortress, Xianxia, perfected Lord Windcloud, Sword Lord Azure Blue, and the others were rather surprised as well. They didn't expect that, after losing Chu Guangli and perfected Lord Thunder Law, their opponent could still remain calm and collected and hold back from launching an all-out attack. It seemed that this battle would not end so easily. At this moment, the faces of several people also showed a hint of solemnity. Time passed quickly. The war between the 4 major regions had been going on for more than 10 years. In the past 10 years, with the Soul Formation Heavenly Lords not officially taking the field yet, both sides had their victories and losses. Many core cultivators from both sides had fallen, ranging from Foundation Establishment to Golden Core and Nascent Soul. However, among all this, The faction most affected was undoubtedly the demonic race in the abyss of celestial beasts. After all, in a war involving several major regions, the scale and intensity were beyond comparison with ordinary sect or family wars. Based on what Jiang Chengxuan and the others had observed, in the past 10 years, no less than tens of thousands of demon races had been affected by the war. This included large demon emperors at late-stage level 5. Editor Henyi Translations. In a certain realm high in the sky, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked down at the battlefield below. Jiang Chengxuan said, "I didn't expect the demonic races in the abyss of celestial beasts to be so enduring. After more than 10 years, there was not even a single demon race that took the initiative to fight back. They are all demon races that were affected by the battle between the two sides." Shen Ruyan nodded and said, "Indeed, these guys are really patient. It seems like this time, they are determined not to get involved in our war." "That's good too." A deep look flashed across Jiang Chengxuan's eyes. "Since they are willing to endure, then let them endure. At the end of the day, our goal is not them, but—" As he spoke, Jiang Chengxuan's gaze suddenly looked towards the distant sky. There, a new wave of war between the two sides had begun. However, this time, the confrontation was not between low-level cultivators or even nascent soul cultivators, but it had escalated to the level of soul formation. In the Nine Heavens realm, Dongfeng Tianxing, Murong Xian, and Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain. They had already engaged in a fierce battle with Zhao Shenji, Wu Xin, and Taoist Shang Tong. As soon as the two sides started, it seemed like they were using all their strength. There were terrifying space cracks appearing in the realm continuously. Pure Yang true treasures and level 6 divine powers appeared one after another. In just an instant, a large area of the realm was completely empty due to the impact. A large black vortex zone of emptiness appeared. This scene was sensed by the cultivators below, who were also engaged in the battle. In an instant, the ongoing battle below came to a halt. Everyone began to look up at the sky. Their faces showed both nervousness and excitement. This was a battle of soul formation heavenly lords. Moreover, as soon as it started, it involved 3 soul formation heavenly lords. The momentum, the scope, and the movement made everyone below feel an unprecedented tremor. "Senior sister, do you think Shifu and the others will be okay?" On the fortress, perfected Lord Glowleaf from the sect of infinite boundaries couldn't help but ask nervously. Shui Xianlin's beautiful eyes were also fixed on the sky, as she said in a deep voice, "Since Shifu and the others have chosen to make a move at this moment, it indicates that they should have some confidence in winning. We just need to watch." As their conversation went on, the battle in the Nine Heavens realm became increasingly fierce. Both sides were evidently using their full power. The attacks were more powerful, and the strikes were increasingly ruthless. However, at this moment, 2 powerful auras suddenly joined the battle. "Haha, Zhao Shenkeng couldn't hold back any longer, huh?" With these words, a vast expanse of water surged in the sky. It was Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean. Opposite him was Zhao Shenkeng, who was dressed in a yellow brocade robe. His expression was solemn. He snorted at Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean. In the next moment, a pagoda appeared in his hand. The entire pagoda emitted a ring of bright yellow light. In the next moment, in that bright yellow light, 9 celestial dragons suddenly flew out and pounced towards Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean. "Infinite Ocean, after so many years, let me see if your oceanic fury waves technique has made any progress." Boom! A mixed wave of blue and yellow chi suddenly swept through the sky. Crack! In the center of it, the space suddenly turned pitch black. A terrifying roar seemed to echo from within. Huh! Suddenly, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, who were situated in a lower realm, turned their attention to several other places in the Nine Heavens realm. The two couldn't help but look at each other. Jiang Chengxuan said, "Ruyan, it seems it's about time for us to take action." "Yes." Shen Ruyan nodded. The next moment, the figures of the two disappeared on the spot. At the same time, in the Nine Heavens realm, suddenly, 2 figures appeared behind Dongfeng Tianxing and Murong Xian. One was wearing a blue brocade robe, and the other was in a red Taoist robe. Judging from the aura emanating from them, both were soul formation heavenly lords. They were heavenly lords from the Eastern and Three Sun sect and Chu family. Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun and Chu Waiu. The moment the two of them appeared without any hesitation, they immediately launched attacks on Dongfeng Tianxing and Murong Xian. In an instant, a golden wheel and two swords, one black and one white, attacked Dongfeng Tianxing and Murong Xian respectively. Be careful. Seeing this sudden turn of events, Shui Xianlin and perfected Lord Glowleaf below were shocked. The two of them couldn't help but exclaim. At the same time, a voice suddenly appeared beside Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun and Chu Waiu. Sorry you two, your opponent is me. With these words, Shen Ruyan's figure suddenly appeared beside the two. She raised her hand. Two purple thunderbolts struck the golden wheel and the two black and white swords. Shen Ruyan from the northern borders Jiang family. Seeing Shen Ruyan, the expressions of Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun and Chu Waiu became somewhat serious. They hadn't forgotten the terrifying strength this woman had displayed that day. Especially Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun. He knew very well that his junior brother, Heavenly Lord Xiao Yang, had died at the hands of this woman. Well, it seems you all know me. Lightning flashed in Shen Ruyan's beautiful eyes. In the next moment, she turned into a bolt of lightning and attacked Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun and Chu Waiu. Oh no! Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun and Chu Waiu's expressions changed. They had already felt it very clearly just now. Shen Ruyan was indeed as powerful as the rumors said. With only the two of them, it was impossible to resist. Fortunately, at this moment, in another place where several people were located, there were suddenly three powerful auras. They were Heavenly Lord Radiant Sun from Three Sun sect, Chu Tianzong from the Chu family, and Taoist Huan Shen from the Gate of Arcane Runes. Among them, Taoist Huan Shen had the achievement of killing several level 6 demon emperors. This person was the main force in dealing with Shen Ruyan this time. This time, they didn't believe that they couldn't handle Shen Ruyan even after dispatching 5 heavenly lords against her. Although the number of people they mobilized this time seemed to be one less than last time. However, it had to be noted that last time, neither Heavenly Lord Xiao Yang nor Zhao Shenji were at their peak. The former had fought a fierce battle with Jiang Chengxuan and had consumed a lot of energy. As for the latter, he had fought a huge battle with Heavenly Lord Purple Flame and the other 3, and had expended even more energy. But today was different. Not to mention the lineup of Taoist Huan Shen's group of 5, their overall strength had already surpassed the combined strength of the 6 last time. Given their peak state, it was not something that the 6 people from last time could compare to. They believed that the probability of defeating or even killing Shen Ruyan was more than 60%. It was only at this moment that everyone present realized something. It seemed that Dongfeng Tianxing and Murong Xian weren't the real targets of the eastern end and central plain. The real target was Shen Ruyan, for whom they kicked up a battle at the level of soul formation. It was truly because of Shen Ruyan's shocking performance last time that they considered her a potential major threat to both the eastern end and the central plain. So, this time, even if they had to use as many trump cards as possible, they must find a way to eliminate Shen Ruyan and even Jiang Chengxuan. You've really put in quite a bit of effort to deal with me. Amidst the flashes of lightning, Shen Ruyan's voice was heard. Taoist Huan Shen, with dual pupils glowing as the lightning flickered, smiled slightly at her words. With your strength, no matter how much preparation and effort we put in, it is not excessive. We just hope that after this, you will be completely wiped out of the surface of the earth. Buzz. As the words fell, strange light suddenly appeared in the eyes of Taoist Huan Shen. In an instant, Shen Ruyan, who was shrouded in the endless lightning, suddenly blurred. The next moment, the lightning surrounding her body just extinguished like that. Now, at this moment, Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun, Heavenly Lord Radiant Sun, Chu Waiu, and Chu Tianzong all took action simultaneously. Terrifying powers erupted in an instant. The space where Shen Ruyan was located was instantly shattered by the formidable soul formation power. However, there was no joy on Taoist Huan Shen's face. His dual pupil continued to rotate. The next moment, a 7-colored radiance suddenly appeared to his right. Over there. Boom! With the words falling, 5 attacks capable of obliterating soul formation, heavenly lords instantly appeared in that space. Crack! At the same time, lightning flickered in the air again. Shen Ruyan's figure appeared again in another space. Taoist Huan Shen's pupils rotated again. The attacks of the 5 people once again descended. When Shen Ruyan's figure appeared again in another space, a curve appeared on the corners of Taoist Huan Shen's mouth. You can't escape now. Buzz. In the void, especially in the areas where Shen Ruyan had just appeared, there seemed to be invisible threads intertwining. In the end, they formed a huge net that solidified all the space that Shen Ruyan could move. Transforming the illusory into reality, is this your true ability? Shen Ruyan's eyes suddenly narrowed. No wonder they sent you to deal with me. It turns out they wanted to trap me in one place and seal off all the spiritual chi I could draw from the outside. It's quite impressive for you to achieve this with your cultivation level. But, as she spoke, Shen Ruyan's eyes suddenly became exceptionally sharp. In her eyes, there seemed to be storms and thunderstorms brewing and about to erupt. She continued in a cold tone, relying on just this isn't enough. Chapter 645, Divine Power Light Cut, in Xianxia. Soul Formation Cultivator. Boom! In an instant, a glaring burst of lightning erupted. Within this lightning, there was also a fiercely intense flame. Lightning and fire intertwined. Sounds of tearing and ripping echoed. The large net of invisible threads that was originally entangled and connected was instantly torn apart inch by inch. This caused the pupils of Taoist Huan Shen to contract. The next moment, arrows made of glittering lightning rapidly shot towards him and the other 4. Freeze! Taoist Huan Shen's hands quickly formed a seal. In an instant, a strange energy wave swept past. The lightning arrows that were shooting at him and the other 4 people were actually frozen in the air, just as he had said. Subsequently, the lightning arrows that were frozen in the air seemed to be illusory as they slowly began to dissipate. Interesting. Shen Ruyan narrowed her eyes. However, at this moment, she suddenly sensed a dangerous aura in her divine sense. Tear. Her body instantly turned into pure lightning. There was a bang. An extremely domineering saber beam suddenly appeared behind her. Puff. Space was instantly shattered. Shen Ruyan's lightning body appeared dozens of miles away. Not far away from her, a man with long hair and sharp eyes slowly appeared. In his hand was a pitch-black long saber. And you are? Saber Lord Skyblade Degrees F, the Great Ling Imperial Palace. Shen Ruyan immediately recognized the person at a glance. At present, she had a certain understanding of all the soul formation heavenly. Lords in the 9 essences cultivation, world. Especially someone like Skyblade, who was a formidable figure among soul formation heavenly lords, Shen Ruyan knew even better. So the true trump card of your side this time is not Taoist Huan Shen, but you. Indeed. Only a cultivator like Skyblade who had reached the 5th level of soul formation could pose a real threat to her. Shriek. However, Skyblade didn't say anything. He opened his eyes. The black long saber in his hand suddenly drew a circular arc in the air. In an instant, a long saber mark appeared in the void where Shen Ruyan was. Just as Shen Ruyan was about to transform into lightning to escape, at this moment, a strange halo suddenly circulated in Taoist Huan Shen's pupils. It caused a subtle distortion in the space where Shen Ruyan was. Boom! Shen Ruyan's figure was finally sent flying backward. Clang, clang, clang. In the air, there suddenly came a series of metal clashes. Shen Ruyan's 5 lightning immortal slayer and Skyblade's black long saber clashed hundreds of times in an instant. In the end, the 5 lightning immortal slayer turned into a 5-colored lightning bolt and flew back into Shen Ruyan's hand. It trembled slightly. No matter what, Shen Ruyan's 5 lightning immortal slayer had yet to reach level 6. Compared to Heavenly Lord's level 6 pure yang true treasure, it naturally fell short. Most importantly, just as Shen Ruyan completely fell into a disadvantage, Taoist Huan Shen, Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun, Heavenly Lord Radiant Sun, Chu Waiyu, and Chu Tianzong launched simultaneous attacks against her. For the first time, Shen Ruyan was forced into a relatively dangerous situation. In Taoist Huan Shen's eyes, 2 peculiar black vortexes appeared, collapsing inward, as if an abyss was about to suck everyone into it. However, precisely at this moment, a golden light suddenly lit up in the sky. The golden light was dazzling. It drew a straight line in the air. There was a swish. Heavenly Lord Radiant Sun, who was closest to it, was instantly swept by this golden light. Then his body was split into two, starting from his glabella. There was a splash. A dazzling sun suddenly fell from the sky. Heavenly Lord Radiant Sun, a soul formation Heavenly Lord, was killed by that golden line. Whoosh! There was an instant surge of intense spiritual chi in the air. This sudden scene not only stunned Skyblade, Taoist Huan Shen, and Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun, but also surprised Dongfeng Tianxing, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain, and others who were battling with Xiao Shengji and Xiao Shenkong. What was that just now? Everyone turned to look at the source of the golden line. There, Yang Chengshuan's figure slowly appeared. He smiled at Shen Ruyan. How is it, Ruyan, my metal-elemental divine power like cut is all right? Did it disappoint you? Swoosh. With his words, Jiang Chengshuan's figure disappeared again, turning into a straight golden line. Everyone was shocked. Taoist Huan Shen's eyes rotated rapidly, as if he wanted to see the truth. However, before he could understand what was going on, a soft puffing sound came from the sky again. Chu Tianzong of the Chu family widened his eyes in disbelief. You? He had just uttered a word when his entire person was split into two halves. A towering mountain collapsed in the sky. Accompanying this, there was another intense surge of spiritual chi. The second soul formation, Heavenly Lord. Fallen. Yu. Chu Waiyu and Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun retreated in shock. He killed two soul formation, Heavenly Lords in 2 moves. This couldn't be described simply as formidable. It was terrifying, unparalleled terror. Suddenly, Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun seemed to have discovered something and pointed at Jiang Chengshuan in shock. You've already broken through to soul formation. What? At this moment, the expressions of Taoist Huan Shen and Skyblade changed drastically. Jiang Chengshuan had already broken through to soul formation. Why didn't they know about this? They did not even sense it at all. How is this possible? One had to know that with the situation between the two sides, if Jiang Chengshuan wanted to break through to soul formation, their side would definitely have sensed it and tried to stop it. Moreover, how did he survive the human tribulation? This was something that Taoist Huan Shen and Skyblade could not figure out no matter what. Tear. It was at this moment that Jiang Chengshuan's figure once again transformed into a golden line. The speed was so fast and sharp that Chu Waiyu, who was being targeted, could not react at all, although Skyblade had reacted. However, his speed was clearly not as fast as Jiang Chengshuan, who had transformed into a golden thread. With a puff, Chu Waiyu had become the third soul formation, Heavenly Lord, to be killed by Jiang Chengshuan. What kind of divine power was this? When did a soul formation, Heavenly Lord, become so weak? Boom! The moment Chu Waiyu was killed, the golden thread that Jiang Chengshuan transformed into finally collided fiercely with the saber beam from Skyblade. In an instant, the sharp cutting force created spatial cracks around, tearing through the void. Thud, thud, thud. Skyblade was forced to retreat continuously. The saber beam he slashed out shattered into specks of light that filled the sky and dissipated when it collided with the golden thread that Jiang Chengshuan had transformed into. This made Skyblade and Taoist Huan Shen's expression turn extremely solemn. They looked at each other. Without saying a word, they picked up Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun beside them and turned around to leave. What a joke! They had already spent so much effort and planning to deal with Shen Ruyan. They had even mobilized so many people. Now they had to deal with Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan at the same time. They believed that if no higher power intervened, even if their numbers doubled, there was no way they could do anything to the couple. At their level, what mattered was no longer things like dharmic power, but rather divine powers, treasures in one's comprehension of the laws. Just now, Jiang Chengshuan's metal-elemental divine power, like cut, was clearly a result of him having comprehended a trace of metal-elemental laws. This was also the reason why he could move around so freely just now. Xiao Shenkong, Xiao Shenji, Taoist Wuxin, and Taoist Shangtong also sensed the danger of the situation. They did not hesitate at all. When they forced their opponents back with all their might, they wanted to turn around and escape. However, if they wanted to leave now, they would be one step behind Skyblade and Taoist Huan Shen. Under the onslaught of the 5 elements Divine Lightning and Light Cut, apart from Xiao Shenkong and Wu Xin, who quickly grasped the situation and managed to escape the battle circle, Zhao Shenji and Taoist Shang Tong were both trapped in place. Boom! Blinding brilliance bloomed. Zhao Shenji and Taoist Shang Tong were both sent flying in a sorry state. Although they did not die on the spot, they were still seriously injured. The two of them exchanged a glance, knowing that if they didn't use their trump cards now, they would likely end up like Chu Waiyu and the others, permanently stranded here. In an instant, a blinding light erupted from their bodies. Accompanying it was an extremely shocking fluctuation that spread out. Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, Dongfeng Tianxing, Murong Zion, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain, and Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean. The moment they sensed the fluctuations coming from Zhao Shenji and Taoist Shang Tong, they immediately opened up a portal in the void and were transported thousands of kilometers away. Rumble! Just at that moment, a terrifying explosion resounded. Everything within a radius of 700 miles, centered around Zhao Shenji and Taoist Shang Tong, vanished into nothingness. Including light, wind, and thunder, everything disappeared in an instant. Only the shattered space and the chaotic energy emanating from it were roaring madly. It was at this moment that Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, Dongfeng Tianxing, and the others suddenly felt something. They all turned their gaze towards the distant sky. There, Zhao Shenji and Shangtang Daoran, who had lost their physical bodies and were left with only their primordial spirits, were fleeing rapidly in the direction they had come from, looking disheveled. Northern border. Those two individuals unexpectedly self-destructed their physical bodies and their intrinsic pure, yang true treasures just now. Although their primordial spirits remained, allowing them to continue surviving, the heavy injuries they suffered meant that their future Tao paths were completely severed. Even their lifespans would greatly diminish. Under normal circumstances, the lifespan of a soul formation Heavenly Lord was approximately around 5,000 years. If combined with various life-extending treasures, theoretically, it could extend up to 9,999 years. However, for the current Zhao Shenji and Taoist Shang Tong, their remaining lifespan at most wouldn't exceed 1,000 years. Moreover, unless they possessed life-extending treasures specifically designed for primordial spirits, regular life-extending treasures wouldn't have any effect on them. And this was the price of self-destructing their physical bodies and intrinsic pure, yang true treasures. Most importantly, after this battle, the eastern end and central plains attack on the western desert and northern border could be said to have failed, unless they were willing to gather all the forces of the two regions and go all out. But that was obviously impossible. If they really did that, the rebellious forces in their respective territories would immediately take action. For example, the current eastern end. When the news of the fall of soul formation Heavenly Lords such as Heavenly Lord Radiant Sun, Chu Waiyu, and Chu Tianzong spread, rebellion forces behind Eastern End immediately began kicking up troubles. It should be noted that in the Eastern End, there were already 3 soul formation Heavenly Lords, Yellow Autumn, Sword Lord Wu Yu, and Heavenly Lord Xiao Yang, who had fallen while trying to hinder Shen Ruyan from reaching Tao. Now 3 soul formation Heavenly Lords, Heavenly Lord Radiant Sun, Chu Waiyu, and Chu Tianzong, had fallen in order to attack the western desert and the northern border. Adding it all up, Eastern End had lost a total of 6 soul formation Heavenly Lords to Jiang Chengxuan and his wife. What kind of concept was this? Well, in the South Wilderness, there was only 1 soul formation Heavenly Lord Scripture Abyss. Similarly, in the current Western Desert, there were only 2 soul formation Heavenly Lords. Even the northern border back, then, only had 3 soul formations in total. Clearly, Jiang Chengxuan and his wife's recent actions have caused quite a stir. Under these circumstances, the 4 major soul formation forces in the Eastern End are clearly struggling to control the situation. If they continue to invest a significant portion of their forces here or even mobilize more from their homeland, it's certain that, before long, these 4 soul formation forces will face attacks from rebellious forces within their own territories. So, when the primordial spirits of Zhao Shenji and Taoist Shang Tong managed to escape back to their own camp, the soul formation cultivator, saved by Zhao Shenkong and Wuxin Daoran, Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun, immediately suggested whether they should withdraw at this point. Because at this time, he had already received news from his own sect about the changes in Eastern End. The Rising Sun Hall had unexpectedly joined forces with various rebellious forces in the Eastern End, launching an attack on the Yellow Maple sect and Radiant Sword sect. Xiao Shenkong and Wu Xin were also aware of this news. Their expressions immediately turned very unsightly. How many years has it been? Eastern End and Central Plain haven't suffered such a significant loss. This is clearly taking advantage of the chaos. A cold and chilling light appeared in everyone's eyes. However, in this situation, even if they were angry, it wouldn't help. The other party was betting on the fact that they wouldn't return. If you return, Xiao Shenkong and the others could imagine that the people of the Rising Sun Hall would disappear like they did in the past. This had happened more than once in the past. It's just that at this crucial moment, they felt an unprecedented sense of frustration. Second Prince, Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun, could no longer sit still. This was because, in his opinion, it was clearly impossible for them to continue this battle. If they insisted, the result would only be greater losses for their side. Since that was the case, it would be better to withdraw first and deal with the rebellious forces in their homeland. Otherwise, if the battlefield here doesn't achieve victory, and their side is in chaos due to the rebellious forces, it would truly be a double loss. Everyone, what do you think? Xiao Shenkong turned to look at Wu Xin, Skyblade, Xiao Shenji, and Taoist Shangtong. At this moment, the few of them had clearly lost their fighting spirit. Especially Xiao Shenji and Taoist Shangtong. Without their physical bodies, at this moment, their most significant concern was not war but how to recover from the injuries they sustained and make up for the loss of lifespan. Other matters were things they didn't want to or couldn't care about. I think it's better to resolve internal issues first before dealing with external threats. At this time, Wu Xin suddenly spoke. The Rising Sun Hall in the Eastern End has been in existence for quite a long time. I believe that if we can, we should try our best to eliminate this hidden danger. Upon hearing Wu Xin's words, Heavenly Lord Tranquil Sun immediately nodded in agreement. If this time they could use the strength of Central Plain to completely eliminate the Rising Sun Hall, it would be a kind of consolation. I have no objections. At that moment, the Heavenly Lord said calmly. Hearing his words, Xiao Shenji and Taoist Shangtong nodded. Thus, Xiao Shenkong did not insist. Since everyone thinks this way, let's withdraw to the Eastern End first and deal with the troublemakers there before deciding what to do next. Not long after, Jiang Chengxuan and the others noticed that the cultivators from the Eastern End and Central Plain began to withdraw. Jiang Chengxuan and his wife were obviously a bit surprised. They hadn't expected the other party to choose to withdraw so quickly. If I'm not mistaken, something unexpected must have happened in their homeland. At this moment, Dongfeng Tianxing spoke after some thought. Upon hearing his words, Jiang Chengxuan and the others quickly caught on. The hasty withdrawal of the other side, aside from encountering heavy casualties, indicated that there might be some issues occurring in their homeland. Should we pursue them next or? Murongxian tentatively asked. Dongfeng Tianxing shook his head. I suggest not to pursue. Although they have suffered severe injuries, they are not without the ability to fight back. If we push them too hard, none of us can guarantee whether they still have some hidden trump cards. Fellow Taoist Jiang, what do you think? With that said, Eastern End turned his gaze towards Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and the others. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan exchanged glances. Eventually, Jiang Chengxuan nodded and said, I agree with fellow Taoist Dongfeng. After this war, if they still want to attack the western desert and the northern border like this time, it won't be as easy. Let alone the fact that, at that time, the abyss of celestial beasts will likely become a significant obstacle hindering their advance. Of course, this place will also become a threat to us. Fellow Taoist Jiang, you mean? Murongxian's expression changed, as if she had thought of something. Jiang Chengxuan nodded. Exactly. Next, what we need to consider is the threat from the demon races. After all, once the protection period is over, the demon races will not stay idle. After all these years of preparing, they are bound to make significant moves, especially in this abyss of celestial beasts. Although we treated it as a battlefield, we have also established profound karma with the demon races here. When the time comes, they will definitely come looking for trouble. So, before that, we need to further strengthen the defense here. After hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, everyone present could not help but nod in agreement. After that, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, along with others, did not leave the war fortress immediately. Instead, they stayed behind to closely monitor the movements of the eastern end and central plain. After all, even though they had made the move to evacuate, no one could guarantee that it wasn't just a diversion. They needed to make sure everything was foolproof. In the blink of an eye, several years had passed. During these years, Jiang Chengxuan and his companions had not seen any trace of cultivators from the eastern end and central plain. They could be quite sure of this. Most importantly, through their spies in various places, they had confirmed that Xiao Shenkang and the others who had left had already gone to the eastern end and had a huge battle with the Rising Sun Hall there. Fortunately, Rising Sun Hall was prepared for this, so they were not wiped out in one fell swoop. Moreover, their stronghold was extremely secretive. Even though Xiao Shenkang and the others had done all they still could not find out where they were hiding. From then on, Jiang Chengxuan and the others finally confirmed that Xiao Shenkang and his group had indeed left this area. Therefore, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain, and Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean didn't stay any longer. After a period of time, the four of them finally returned to the northern border with their respective people. Just after returning to the northern border, the four suddenly received a voice transmission from Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang. It was about Heavenly Lord Purple Flame. According to Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang, not long ago, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame's injuries suddenly worsened, almost to the point of uncontrollable. This made the expressions of Jiang Chengxuan and the other three immediately change. They hadn't expected to hear such tragic news just after returning to the northern border. Immediately, the four didn't dare to delay. They swiftly headed towards the direction of Purple Sun Palace. Upon arriving at Purple Sun Palace and seeing Heavenly Lord Purple Flame, the hearts of the four sank. Heavenly Lord Purple Flame at this moment exuded a decaying aura, with whitening hair, wrinkled skin, and the appearance of an elderly person. At this moment, the expressions of Jiang Chengxuan and the other three became extremely solemn. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan exchanged glances. The couple had a speculation in their hearts. The sudden deterioration of Heavenly Lord Purple Flame's injuries might be related to the battle against Xiao Shenji and the others that day. Senior Purple Flame. The two of them spoke first. However, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame seemed to know what they were going to say and immediately waved his hand with a smile. No need to say more, my dear friends. I'm well aware of my own situation. Originally, I didn't want Chuan Yang to inform you about this. But now that you're all here, I naturally have nothing to hide. Huh? The few of them were clearly puzzled by Heavenly Lord Purple Flame's words. Heavenly Lord Purple Flame continued, I have planned to make a trip to the lair of the demonic beasts before my death. What? Jiang Chengxuan and the others were clearly stunned when they heard Heavenly Lord Purple Flame's words. Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain couldn't help but ask, Fellow Taoist Purple Flame, why are you doing this? Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean also wanted to speak, but he was interrupted by Heavenly Lord Purple Flame with a smile. I know what you mean, but ask yourself, with the current strength of our human race, can we be a match for the demon race? Not at all. Even with fellow Taoist Jiang and fellow Taoist Shen, it's still not enough. At the moment, since I am nearly at my end, why not take this opportunity to visit the lair of the demonic beasts? If I can take down 1 or 2 level 6 demon lords, it will reduce a lot of pressure for you and the entire human race in the future. But fellow Taoist Purple Flame, at this moment, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean, Jiang Chengxuan, and Shen Ruyan didn't know what to say. They could tell that Heavenly Lord Purple Flame had this thought since the moment he knew that he did not have long to live. Using his life, that was about to be exhausted to exchange for the life of a level 6 demon sovereign. Is it worth it? The answer is a definite yes. But that was not how one should look at it. It required real courage and the willingness to face death voluntarily for the sake of the human race. Even Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean, and Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang couldn't guarantee that they would have the same courage and willingness to face death like Heavenly Lord Purple Flame when the time came. Fellow Taoist Purple Flame, do you really have to do this? Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean sighed. Heavenly Lord Purple Flame, however, nodded with a smile. Old buddy, after so many years, you should understand me. Since I've said this, I will definitely do it when the time comes. As for whether you plan to start a war with the demonic beasts after my departure, or continue to accumulate strength and wait for the right moment, it's up to you. Now I can only do what I can. The rest depends on all of you. With that, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame suddenly waved his hand. In an instant, numerous spirit wines and delicacies appeared in front of them. Heavenly Lord Purple Flame said, "Come, come, let's have a few drinks while we still have time. Also, tell me about the battle between us and the central pain." As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame, Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain, and Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean were sitting with the wine cups in front of them. They were all filled with sparkling and translucent wine that was filled with spiritual qi. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan and the others couldn't help exchanging glances. Immediately, everyone set aside their worries and concerns, instead accompanying Purple Flame to eat and drink. During the banquet, many interesting anecdotes and topics were discussed, including their recent battles in the abyss of celestial beasts. This drinking session went on for many days, and it seemed like everyone had cast off their burdens. Amidst the clinking of cups, the spiritual liquor taken out by Purple Flame quickly ran out. Then Jiang Chengxuan, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean, and Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang also took out their spiritual liquor. The merriment continued until several days later. Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain, and Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean then bid farewell to Heavenly Lord Purple Flame and returned to their sects and families. It was only then that perfected Lord Wind Cloud and the other personal disciples of Heavenly Lord Purple Flame arrived one after another. Looking at the aged face of their Shifu, each of them couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness. On the contrary, Purple Flame remained calm. He looked at the disciples, pondered for a moment, and said, "After I leave, remember, do not pride yourselves as disciples of a soul formation sect. You must put aside past arrogance and be cautious in your words and actions. Thus, even after 100 or 1,000 years, as long as those fellow Taoists are still around, they can ensure the continuation of my Purple Sun Palace. Have you all remembered?" Affected Lord Wind Cloud and the others were stunned. However, in the next second, they agreed respectfully. "I will remember Shifu's teachings." "Good." Heavenly Lord Purple Flame nodded slightly. Next, he gave some instructions to Wind Cloud and others before letting them leave. At the same time, after Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan returned to Mount Mystic Tai, they entered their own cave abodes, preparing to begin seclusion. As for some family matters, they had already discussed them with Jiang Anren and others on their way back. Therefore, they didn't say anything else. Instead, they took out some of their gains from their bodies. First of all, it was the section of the Green Dragon Divine Wood. Yang Chengxuan found this in Chu Waiu's storage ring. Originally, he was still wondering where he should obtain a treasure like the Green Dragon Divine Wood. After all, none of the soul formation heavenly lords he knew had such a treasure. Unexpectedly, he actually obtained this section of Green Dragon Divine Wood from Chu Waiu's storage ring. Moreover, this section of the Green Dragon Divine Wood was level 6. Hence, as long as his weapon refinement cultivation broke through to level 6, he could officially begin to try the refinement of the Eastern Green Dragon Flag. Next was a piece of Mystic Lightning Crystal. This item was also obtained from their enemy, Heavenly Lord Radiant Sun. With this item, Shen Ruyan's 5 Lightning Immortal Slayer could be upgraded to level 6 Pure Yang True Treasure in advance. Next was a bottle of Primordial Chaos Heavenly Water. It was an extremely precious level 6 body tempering treasure. With it, Jiang Chengxuan's body tempering cultivation might be able to break through to level 6. At that time, his combat strength would definitely experience another leap. Finally, there were some pure Yang True treasures that they could not use. They exchanged some of them with other heavenly lords. As for the remaining few, they planned to keep one each as a backup. As for the extra ones, they planned to refine them into pure Yang talisman treasures and give them to Jiang Anren and the others as a trump card in the future. They sorted out what they were going to do next. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan didn't waste any more time. The couple officially began their seclusion. A year later, Jiang Chengxuan had just refined the section of green dragon divine wood in his hand when his heart suddenly throbbed. This forced him to temporarily stop what he was doing and turn to the outside of the cave abode. Coincidentally, his Dao companion Shen Ruyan also walked out of her cave abode. The couple looked at each other and saw a hint of seriousness in each other's eyes. At this moment, in a place extremely far away from the human territory, suddenly, a blazing light that was like an explosion of the sun rose. Even from thousands of miles away, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan could clearly feel the terrifying power. That is, the hearts of the two skipped a beat. At this moment, a hearty laugh suddenly sounded in the sky. Ha ha ha, demon sovereign divine eagle, today, I will drag you down to hell with me. Purple flame, how dare you? A sudden angry and terrified roar echoed in the high sky. How dare you intrude into our demon territory actively? Aren't you afraid that my demon race will once again go to war with your human race? Helaza, eagle, today, I only represent myself, not the entire human race. If your demon race really wants to go to war with my human race because of this, feel free to try. Purple flame, you're quite audacious. In the high sky, another roar of a demon sovereign resounded. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan instantly recognized the voice. It was unexpectedly the voice of Elder Black Tortoise. However, at this moment, what responded to Elder Black Tortoise was an extremely loud bang. Following that, a dazzling light surpassing the brilliance of the sun soared into the sky, accompanied by the furious and unwilling roar of the divine eagle demon sovereign. Its aura and the aura of purple flame rapidly weakened and dissipated in this instant. Lunatic, you lunatic! With the eagle's final struggle, its and Heavenly Lord Purple Flame's auras finally disappeared completely in the explosion. Roar! At the same time, a giant turtle resembling a mountain, covered in countless ancient and simple patterns on its back, emitting an exceptionally ancient and powerful aura, appeared in the divine senses of Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and other heavenly lords. However, this black tortoise at this moment had its ancient and tough shell covered with numerous scorch marks. Even clearly visible were cracks spreading across most of its shell. One of its giant claws was broken into two sections. Thick demon lord's blood gushed out vigorously from its wounds. The attack just now had severely injured Elder Black Tortoise, which had lived for countless years, causing it substantial damage. System continuous notification. At this moment, no matter how much Elder Black Tortoise could endure, he couldn't contain his anger at this moment. Its massive Dharma form, in an instant, transformed into a giant of thousands of feet. A terrifying aura, centered around its Dharma form, shrouded the entire northern border. Well, seeing Elder Black Tortoise's actions, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Heavenly Lord Xuan Yang also burst out with formidable auras. Jiang Chengxuan, without any politeness, directly taunted towards the territory of the demon race. Old Tortoise, do you want to actively provoke a war between our two races? Or do you want to if your shell is harder than my fist? Come, come, come. Don't hesitate. If you want to fight, I'm in for it. Let's fight until one of us falls. Do you dare? Jiang Chengxuan's provocative words immediately dyed Elder Black Tortoise's eyes red. Its gaze was fixed on Jiang Chengxuan from afar. Jiang Chengxuan sneered in disdain. Why, you don't dare? Or do you think you can kill me with your eyes alone? HMPH. This last mocking sneer almost caused Elder Black Tortoise to lose all its cool. Fortunately, at this moment, in the other areas within the territory of the demon race, several extremely powerful auras also rose. They confronted Jiang Chengxuan and others from a distance. In the end, a voice with a somewhat hoarse tone was heard. Fellow Taoist Black Tortoise, there's no need to fight with those people. When the time comes, we will naturally seek justice for you and the deceased divine eagle. At that time, we will use the blood of tens of billions of humans to wash away this humiliation. With these words, the trace of blood in the eyes of the Elder Black Tortoise gradually faded away. It deeply glanced at the direction where Jiang Chengxuan and the others were, and then, together with the other demon sovereigns, stealthily returned to the depths of the demon territory. Upon seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan was somewhat disappointed. If he could really provoke Elder Black Tortoise and have a life-and-death battle with him, then they, the human race, might have one less enemy. Unfortunately, he couldn't help but shake his head. Then, he and Shen Ruyan looked in the direction of the demon territory again. Their expressions gradually turned solemn. He stood there quietly for a long time. Finally, each of them took out a cup of spirit wine, saluted in the direction they were facing, and then sprinkled their respective spirit wine on the ground. Fellow Taoist Purple Flame, have a safe journey. One day in the future, we will let the human race stand at the pinnacle of this world. Just watch. After saying these words, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan returned to their cave abodes. After returning to his cave abode, Jiang Chengxuan did not immediately try to refine his Eastern Green Dragon flag with the refined Green Dragon Divine Wood. Instead, he took out many top-grade Level 5 materials and tried to simulate the refinement of a Level 6 Pure Yang True Treasure. After all, refining a Level 6 Pure Yang True Treasure was different from refining a Level 5 True Treasure, where there were many materials for you to practice. In the 9 Essences cultivation world, any Level 6 material could be said to be very precious and rare. Therefore, if he wanted to refine a Level 6 Pure Yang True Treasure and break through to the Level 6 Weapon Refiner, he must achieve perfection as a Level 5 Weapon Refiner. Moreover, he had to gather enough experience from it. Only in this way, when he tried to refine a Level 6 Pure Yang True Treasure, would there be a few chances of success. Jiang Chengxuan was currently doing just that. He used the existing Level 5 materials and those high-grade Level 5 materials to continuously practice and learn, constantly laying a sufficient foundation for the subsequent refining of the Eastern Green Dragon flag. At the same time, he did not forget to use the heavenly calculation technique to predict the outcome of him refining the Eastern Green Dragon flag. Just like that, 30 years passed quickly. In these 30 years, Jiang Chengxuan had already refined no less than 10 Level 5 True Treasures using those Level 5 materials. Among them, 2 are top-grade Level 5 True Treasures. It could be said that he had already reached perfection as a Level 5 weapon refiner. However, regarding the refining of the Level 6 Pure Yang True Treasure, Jiang Chengxuan was still not too confident. After he calculated, almost 9 out of 10 results told him that if he tried to refine the Eastern Green Dragon flag now, he would have a very high chance of failure. Could it be that I really have to use merit to refine the Eastern Green Dragon flag this time? Jiang Chengxuan fell into deep thought. After a while, he shook his head. His intuition told him that the merit he had now was not suitable to be used in this occasion. Thinking of this, Jiang Chengxuan immediately began another round of calculation. This calculation took another 30 years. This made Jiang Chengxuan deeply realize something. There was a fundamental difference between soul formation, heavenly lords, and low-level cultivators. He had been in seclusion for 60 years. If it was a Qi refinement cultivator, their lifespan would have been more than half gone. Even if they were foundation establishment cultivators, it was already 1/3 of their lives. And this was only the time Jiang Chengxuan had spent on refining the Eastern Green Dragon flag and calculating. In the future, if he really wanted to cultivate a special technique or undergo seclusion to break through, it might take a century or more. By the time he came out, many people's lives may have already come to an end. This is also the main reason why high-level cultivators could not truly be friends with lower-level cultivators. Even for family ancestors like him, there may not be genuine emotions towards their direct blood descendants. The gap between the two was just too significant. Even if they had just established some emotional connections, finding out that the junior had already passed away due to the depletion of lifespan after coming out of seclusion could be occasionally acceptable. But if it happened frequently, even they, as soul formation heavenly lords, may be affected emotionally. So, once they reached the cultivation realm of soul formation, they rarely had substantial interactions with disciples or juniors below them. They only needed to do what they ought to and fulfill their responsibilities. Some cultivators with indifferent and selfish temperaments may not even fulfill these responsibilities. This was also a major reason why many cultivators became ruthless and unfeeling as they progressed in their cultivation. Jiang Chengxuan felt that he had no right to judge others. Cultivation was a personal journey, and everyone was a small character struggling on this path. Whether it's soul formation or voice returning, in the vast world under the heavens, what does it all amount to? In any case, he only needed to manage himself and hold on to his true heart. At this moment, through calculation, Jiang Chengxuan had already pushed the success rate of refining the Eastern Green Dragon flag to around 40%. This was already the limit of what he could foresee. Going further, even if he spent more time, there may not be any substantial results. Since that was the case, he might as well start now. If it really didn't work out, he would just use a trace of merit. He believed that, when it came to a critical moment, he would not lose the necessary determination. After all intuitions and calculation were just forms of concepts. He could use them as references or even relied on them sometimes, but he must not let them become the sole basis for his decisions. After understanding all of this, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly felt that his state of mind had elevated to a higher level in an instant. The primordial spirit in his body became more robust, harmonious, and integrated. His connection with this world also became even closer. Seizing this fleeting enlightenment, Jiang Chengxuan quickly took out all the materials needed to refine the Eastern Green Dragon flag. The armored wood vine, the wood earth ganoderma, and the green dragon divine wood that he had refined long ago. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The pure yang true fire began to dance and burn in his palm. Gradually, the armored wood vine and wood earth ganoderma turned into two balls of emerald liquid. They emitted a fragrance unique to wood. Jiang Chengxuan cast a series of refining spells. Soon, the three main materials for refining the Eastern Green Dragon flag began to fuse together. This process was surprisingly smooth. Jiang Chengxuan felt that his state was getting better and better. Countless insights surged into his mind, erupting from the accumulation of numerous attempts, calculations, and practices before this moment. As a result, he managed to completely refine this intrinsic wood elemental pure, yang true treasure in just 10 years. Buzz. The moment he cast the last refining spell into the Eastern Green Dragon flag, the entire flag emitted a rich green light. Waves of profound aura filled the air. Jiang Chengxuan immediately knew all the uses of this pure yang true treasure. It had to be said that this Eastern Green Dragon flag was the one with the most functions and comprehensive uses among all his treasures. It combined defense, confusion, entrapment, lockdown, and attack. With it in hand, Jiang Chengxuan's strength undoubtedly climbed another level. Jiang Chengxuan was overjoyed. He raised his hand slightly and tapped at the palm-sized emerald green flag in front of him. A low dragon roar suddenly sounded from the emerald green flag. Then, in the next moment, it turned into a green light and directly merged into Jiang Chengxuan's brow. Ding! At the same time, a familiar electronic voice suddenly sounded in Jiang Chengxuan's mind. Congratulations, host. You have become a level 6 weapon refiner. You have received 3 chances to enter the special weapon refinement space and 1 repairing Jade. Special weapon refinement space. It can simulate the materials needed by the host for refining weapons, allowing the host to practice the refining process. However, the real refining operations cannot be performed in this space. Repairing Jade. It can instantly repair damaged or even destroyed Dharma treasures, true treasures, and even pure Yang true treasures. Ding! At this moment, the system notification sounded again. Congratulations, host. You have successfully refined 5 elemental intrinsic Dharma treasures. You have obtained the 5 treasures fusion technique and the refinement method of the universe 5 elements diagram. Upon hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan was taken aback. He hadn't expected that refining 5 elemental intrinsic Dharma treasures would bring such a delightful surprise. According to the system, the 5 treasures fusion technique was specifically created to craft the universe 5 elements diagram. This diagram was a unique artifact that combined 5 different elemental properties: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. To forge this extraordinary treasure, one must use the Eastern Green Dragon flag, Golden Void Sword, Eternal Scorching Sun Furnace, Deep Earth Halberd, and Yin-Yang Divine Water Jade as materials, merging them into one to finally create the universe 5 elements diagram. Upon its completion, this artifact would automatically reach the level of a spiritual treasure. Moreover, it possessed the ability to transform. It could revert to any of its original forms, such as the Deep Earth Halberd or the Eastern Green Dragon flag. Most importantly, once crafted in this manner, it would truly qualify as an immortal treasure. In other words, it could be a treasure that could truly accompany Jiang Chengxuan on his journey ahead. Moreover, its power would surpass all spiritual treasures, second only to the heaven-connecting spiritual treasures. To Jiang Chengxuan, this was definitely great news. It was an opportunity for him to truly possess his own spiritual treasure. After all, possessing such artifacts was unheard of, given their rarity and value. Spiritual treasures were simply too rare and precious. Each spiritual treasure was unique, with its distinct characteristics impossible to replicate. Not to mention soul formation cultivators like them. Even the void-returning divine lords of the upper world might not have a treasure like a spiritual treasure. Thinking this, Jiang Chengxuan immediately reviewed the entire content of the Five Treasures fusion technique. After reading it, Jiang Chengxuan immediately had many plans. Sure enough, it was indeed not easy to refine the spiritual treasure, Universe 5 Elements diagram. Although he already had the foundation to refine this spiritual treasure. However, there were a few prerequisites. First of all, his 5 intrinsic Dharma treasures had to all reach level 6 pure Yang true treasure level. Secondly, and most importantly, he had to awaken their spirituality. Only by activating its spirituality could a treasure truly be called a spiritual treasure. Right now, what he needed to consider the most was still to think of a way to raise the other 3 intrinsic true treasures to level 6 before he could truly start considering the fusion of the 5 treasures. However, such a task could not be completed in a short period of time. The most important thing now was to think of a way to increase his body tempering cultivation. He wanted to see if he could use this opportunity to raise his body tempering cultivation to level 6. If he could, his battle prowess might increase once again. Thinking of this, Jiang Chengxuan immediately took out the bottle of primordial chaos, heavenly water from his body. This water was an extremely rare level 6 body tempering material. As soon as Jiang Chengxuan applied the water on his body, he immediately felt its extraordinary effects. At this moment, he sensed a rapid transformation in his body. His blood, bones, and meridians seemed to be undergoing a swift change under the influence of a special power. This transformation intensified significantly when he circulated the infinite wheel. In just a few months, Jiang Chengxuan felt a significant improvement in his physical constitution compared to before. Continuing at this rate, he pondered that by the time he finished using the entire bottle of water, there was a real possibility of elevating his body tempering cultivation to level 6. Drip drip. While Jiang Chengxuan was rapidly improving his body tempering cultivation, somewhere in the depths of the demon beast forest in the northern border, droplets of black liquid slowly oozed from a fractured cliffside. A demon bird with wings spanning 4 meters had just flown over this cliff. Its previously sharp amber eyes slowly turned as dark as ink. Threads of visible and invisible black lines extended from the dripping black liquid, swiftly embedding into the bones and flesh of the demon bird. Instantly, the bird's body began to grow rapidly. Pus-like tumors sprouted on its wings, head, and torso. There was a splash. Slimy black tentacles emerged under its abdomen, gruesomely twisting and writhing in the air. Sharp barbs grew on its talons, exuding an aura of brutal ferocity. With a piercing shriek, the sound was harsh, violent, and eerily sinister. There was a whoosh. A patterned python just emerging below was instantly killed, its head crushed by the bird's sharp, barbed talons. In a flash, threads of black lines emerged from within the bird and merged into the corpse of the python. In just a short time, a bizarre transformation occurred. The patterned python, previously lifeless with a shattered head, abruptly rose up. Hiss, hiss. The sound of a venomous snake hissing filled the air. The python's previously colorful body was rapidly enveloped by a layer of ink-like darkness. Its skin under the scales writhed rapidly, forming irregular bulges. Soon, these bulges turned into disgusting tumors, accompanied by the emergence of numerous black, slimy tentacles from its belly. The python had completely changed in appearance, its eyes now sinister and cold, emitting a brutal and icy glow. In silence, the snake and the demon bird moved towards their next prey. Back at the cliff, a large pool of black liquid had accumulated on the ground. This liquid, as if possessing its own consciousness, formed into droplets and shot out in all directions. Time flew swiftly, and 30 years passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Jiang Chengxuan sighed as he looked at the empty bottle of primordial chaos heavenly water. He was so close to reaching level 6 in body refining. Unfortunately, He had run out of the primordial chaos heavenly water. Though he was only a step away from the threshold, it was obviously not so easy to cross it without a body-tempering precious item. It could potentially take hundreds or even 1,000 years. Deciding to look for similar precious items in the future, Jiang Chengxuan realized it had been almost 100 years since he began his seclusion. It was time for him to emerge. Thinking so, he stepped out, instantly arriving outside his cave abode. He wondered if Shen Ruyan had yet to leave her seclusion. Scanning the area with his divine sense and not detecting her presence, he decided not to disturb her. Instead, he called upon Jiang Reni and others to catch up on the events of the past century. It turned out that the 9 Essences cultivation world had been relatively peaceful during these 100 years, with no major events. However, the Jiang family had developed rapidly, thanks to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. One of the most noteworthy things was that Jiang Rendao had successfully advanced to nascent soul 18 years ago. Others in the family also saw significant improvements in their cultivation levels, with the number of golden core cultivators in the family increasing by 4. However, Jiang Chengxuan did not know those 4 people. He had only heard of their names. Jiang Chengxuan had no intention of meeting them. After all, at his current realm, ordinary golden cores were really not worthy of his attention. Even nascent soul cultivators would not be able to attract his attention unless they had a special identity or something special. In the end, reaching the realm of soul formation had changed his perspective on many things. By the way, granduncle. At this moment, Jiang Reni seemed to have thought of something, and his expression became slightly solemn. Jiang Chengxuan noticed the change and looked at him intently. "Is there something special?" he asked. At that moment, Jiang Reni felt an indescribable pressure, as if he was carrying an invisible weight, instilling a sense of awe in him. He thought to himself that his granduncle's presence seemed to grow more imposing by the day. Although Jiang Chengxuan's attitude towards them remained the same, his status as a soul formation heavenly lord inevitably brought a different kind of pressure. "There is something I need to report to you, granduncle." Jiang Reni tried his best to adjust his state and replied in a calm tone. "A few years ago, there were a few instances where it seemed like the demon race was probing us." Probing? When he suddenly heard this news, Jiang Chengxuan's originally calm eyes immediately narrowed. He knew very well that the protection period of the human race was not over yet. If the demons attacked the human race at this time, even if it was just a probing attack, it would bring unimaginable negative consequences to the demons. Black Tortoise and the others shouldn't be so unwise. There should be something else going on that they did not know. With that in mind, Jiang Chengxuan said to Jiang Reni, "Tell me about it in detail. What exactly happened?" Jiang Reni nodded and immediately told Jiang Chengxuan everything he knew. La Secte. As it turned out, a few years ago, several low-level demon beasts had attacked some of the human cities. These attacks were primarily carried out by level 1 demon beasts, with occasional appearances of level 2 ones. However, there were no sightings of level 3 demon beasts or level 4 demon kings. Despite this, these attacks had still caused some casualties among the human population. Similar incidents had occurred 3 or 4 times so far. Jiang Chengxuan quickly formed a hypothesis in his mind. It seemed that over the past century, the demon race had grown restless and was using these attacks to probe for certain weaknesses. The repeated nature of these incidents suggested that they might have discovered something valuable from their probing. Otherwise, similar incidents wouldn't have happened 3 or 4 times in a row. However, this was clearly not what Jiang Chengxuan paid the most attention to. What really caught his attention was another situation. According to Jiang Reni, in the most recent demon beast activity, they had encountered a very peculiar type of demon beast. These creatures exuded an immensely evil aura and possessed a certain undying ability. Even when beheaded or bisected, they continued to move. Only through the use of fierce spells like flames and lightning, or similar Dharma weapons, could they be truly eliminated. Almost subconsciously, Jiang Chengxuan immediately thought of what he had foreseen that day, as well as the person he had cursed to death that day. Could it be that this matter was related to them? At the thought of this, Jiang Chengxuan's expression could not help but turn solemn. "Husband, if I am not mistaken, the beasts Reni speaks of are no longer true demon beasts. They seem to have been corrupted by something extremely evil. I believe calling them demon monsters would be more appropriate. At that moment, Shen Ruyan's voice suddenly came from behind Jiang Chengxuan and Jiang Reni. "Wife, you're out of seclusion," Jiang Chengxuan exclaimed with surprise and joy, turning to Shen Ruyan. Shen Ruyan nodded with a smile. "Yes, I have just emerged." Jiang Reni also hurriedly greeted her with respect. Shen Ruyan nodded slightly and then turned back to the topic at hand, looking at Jiang Chengxuan. "Husband, what do you think?" "I think you are right." Jiang Chengxuan nodded in agreement. If what Reni says is true, then these demon beasts are indeed no longer mere beasts but have become monsters. At this point, Jiang Chengxuan looked at Jiang Reni and asked, "By the way, did you manage to capture any of them alive? If so, bring them to me immediately." Hearing this, Jiang Reni's expression turned into a wry smile as he shook his head. "Granduncle, we haven't captured any alive. It's not for lack of trying, but as soon as we capture and restrain them, they self-destruct, turning into a pile of ashes." "Oh, is that so?" Jiang Chengxuan immediately frowned. He and Shen Ruyan exchanged glances. The self-destructive nature of these monsters further confirmed their previous speculation. "It seems we can only wait until they appear again and investigate in person," Jiang Chengxuan said, looking at Shen Ruyan, who nodded in agreement. "For now, that seems to be the only option," she replied. "By the way, does the Hidden Sword Palace know about this?" Jiang Chengxuan suddenly asked. Jiang Reni immediately nodded and replied, "Yes, they are aware. After all, when these creatures attacked our human cities, they didn't only target cities under our Jiang family's jurisdiction." "I see." Jiang Chengxuan nodded slightly. "You may leave for now. If there's any new development, inform us immediately." "Yes, granduncle." Jiang Reni immediately agreed respectfully. Once Jiang Reni's figure had completely disappeared from Xunaming Peak, Jiang Chengxuan turned back to Shen Ruyan. "Wife, I suspect that the demon race might now be in league with those beings." Are you saying?" Shen Ruyan's beautiful eyes narrowed. Jiang Chengxuan nodded. "Exactly. Otherwise, the emergence of these demon monsters cannot be explained. Only by joining forces can there be a possibility of those demon monsters being born." At this point, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes suddenly became a little deep. It seems the demon race is really set on going down this dark path. The couple then shifted their conversation to their gains from the recent seclusion. Jiang Chengxuan quickly learned that during this time, Shen Ruyan not only upgraded her intrinsic true treasure, the 5 lightning immortal slayer, to level 6 pure yang true trocer, but also advanced her cultivation to the 2nd level of soul formation. Additionally, she had comprehended a new divine power, the yin-yang polarity lightning sword, a divine power comparable in power to the 5 elements divine lightning. While the couple was exchanging their insights from the seclusion, a series of tragic screams echoed within the celestial law sect in the state of Tong. Inside the entire state of Tong, there were hundreds of twisted and eerie black shadows moving through the air, on the ground, inside houses, and even along walls. Eventually, these twisted shadows swarmed into the noses, ears, mouths, and eyes of the disciples in the state of Tong who were screaming in agony. In an instant, the cultivators in celestial law sect who were howling in pain stopped. The disciples' eyes turned pitch black, like a deep abyss. On the surface of their bodies, there were black pustules that looked like tumors. They rose and fell as if something was about to break out of their skin. Inside the ancestral hall of celestial law sect, the 4 current nascent soul cultivators of the sect faced a figure shrouded in a cloak. Their expressions twisted with fury. One of them demanded, "Who are you? Why have you brought such calamity upon my sect?" The cloaked figure replied with a faint smile. "No particular reason. I just find that using your sect members as hosts suits my needs better. After all, your expertise in puppetry can help us conceal many things and buy us some time." "That's all." "What?" The 3 ancestors of the celestial law sect were shocked. One of them stared at the cloaked figure in disbelief. Who are you?" Figured something out, have you?" The cloaked figure narrowed his eyes, then grinned. "It doesn't matter. As long as I control you today, this matter will not be spread. To me, as long as I can buy some time, that will be enough." As he spoke, countless black threads shot out from his hands. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. These threads were somewhere between tangible and intangible. Of the 4 nascent soul cultivators of celestial law sect, Only the first and third ancestors managed to react in time, swapping places with their intrinsic puppets. A series of pops could be heard. Their puppet duplicates exploded into countless fragments, but the second and fourth ancestors let out a piercing scream. The hearts of the first and third ancestors sank. Turning around, they saw that the bodies of the second and fourth ancestors were now entangled in dense black threads, with black lines spreading over their skin, moving up from their legs to their arms, abdomen, and chest. In the blink of an eye, the lines had even reached their shoulders. Arg! The two screamed as if undergoing unbearable torture, with bulging tumors appearing on their bodies. The sight was grotesque, terrifying, and bizarre. "You're courting death," the third ancestor roared furiously. In the next moment, a flaming sword flew towards the cloaked figure, while the first ancestor was not idle either. He reached out and formed a hand seal. In the next moment, three immensely majestic figures appeared behind the cloaked figure. With the power to shatter the earth, three gigantic fists plummeted towards the cloaked figure's head. These were three puppets at level 5. Humph! Facing the attacks of the two, the cloaked figure merely chuckled in response. His figure seemed to turn ethereal, and both the flaming flying sword and the attacks from the level 5 puppets passed right through him without causing any damage. What? The first and third ancestors were shocked. At this moment, an extremely dangerous feeling surged in their hearts. Before they could react, several level 5 puppets suddenly appeared in front of them. Boom! Their formidable attack struck, causing the defensive treasures of the first and third ancestors to shake violently, their spiritual light rapidly dimming. What chilled them to the bone was the realization that the attacking puppets were the level 5 puppets of the second and fourth ancestors. Die. At the same time, the second and fourth ancestors unleashed their intrinsic true treasures, a revolving wheel and a treasure pagoda. Both shone brilliantly, pressing down directly towards the first and third ancestors. Junior brothers, you. The first ancestor began to speak, but suddenly his pupils constricted. He and the third ancestor realized that the eyes of the second and fourth ancestors had turned pitch black, like ink, exuding a cold, sinister, evil, and eerie aura. Even they had been. Just as this thought flashed through his mind, the attacks of the two sides collided again. Rumble! The hall shook, and the array's luminous halos flickered rapidly. Clearly, the attacks of the four were pushing the defensive limits of the array in the hall. At this critical moment, while the first and third ancestors were engaged in battle with the second and fourth, they failed to notice that two shadows, identical to their own, had suddenly risen from their feet. These shadows stood upright and adhered to their backs. Targeted. Arg! Both the first and third ancestors screamed in unison. The next moment, the spiritual light on their bodies flickered rapidly, and they were bombarded with a series of attacks that shattered their defenses. In no time, both the third and first ancestors of Celestial Law Sect, like the second and fourth, had their eyes turn into a deep, abyssal black and grotesque, twisting tumors began to writhe under their skin. Accompanying this transformation were sinister and eerie black shadows that fluttered and danced around them. A few years later, in the Nova waters, on the spiritual island of the Vast River, affected Lord Vast River looked at the message brought by his disciple, his face turning grim. He turned to his disciple, Guan Xinting, and asked in a deep voice, "What's going on? Haven't we figured out what's happening yet?" Guan Xinting wore a bitter smile and shook her head. "We still haven't found the exact cause. Junior brother Yun Zicheng and the others have vanished as if they evaporated from this world. It's the same as those previous disappearances. As it turned out, just half a year ago, the forces near the island of the Vast River's domain began to experience a series of disappearances. Initially, these cases were few and didn't attract much attention. However, as time passed, more and more people disappeared, including the complete disappearance of entire sects and families. Now, even within the spiritual island of the Vast River, people were vanishing, including Yun Zicheng, the direct disciple of perfected Lord Vast River. Even perfected Lord Vast River, the master of the island, couldn't stay uninvolved and emerged from seclusion to personally investigate. However, the results were disappointing. Despite extensive investigations, they found nothing, not even a clue as to how Yun Zicheng and the others disappeared. It was as if an invisible hand had wiped away all traces. Perfected Lord Vast River, instinctively felt something was amiss. It was as if a shadow had imperceptibly enveloped them, casting a pall over the entire spiritual island of the vast river. "Something's not right," he suddenly said, shaking his head. At this moment, he sensed an enormous crisis rapidly approaching, threatening him and the entire island. "I must inform Black Sea Pavilion and Senior Jiang about this," he said, getting up to leave for the nearest Black Sea Pavilion. After greeting Guan Xinting, he prepared to immediately head to the nearest Black Sea Pavilion. However, just as he was about to leave the spiritual island of the vast river, several disciples on the island suddenly looked at each other. In the next moment, a sinister cold smile appeared on the faces of those disciples. Boom! It was also at this moment that the entire sky above the island seemed to be enveloped by a thick black fog. The evil and terrifying aura it exuded instantly changed the expressions of perfected Lord Vast River and Guan Xinting. "Shifu, this is." Sensing the terrifying aura emitted by the black fog, Guan Xinting turned to look at perfected Lord Vast River in shock. At that moment, perfected Lord Vast River had a look of disbelief as well. "Such dense demonic chi. It seems our island has been targeted for more than just a day or two," he said, turning his gaze towards the disciples with dark glints in their eyes. "Yuan Hong, Fei Yan, when did you become like this, and how did I not notice any of this?" Instead of a response, an eerie cold laugh was all that came back. The disciple named Fei Yan then spoke mechanically. "Perfected Lord Vast River, don't worry, soon you will become one of us. By then, the entire Nova Waters will be our territory." As he finished speaking, perfected Lord Vast River and Guan Xinting were shocked to see a large group of island disciples appear behind the two. Each one had eyes as black as ink, with tumors writhing under their skin and bodies marked with twisted, sinister black lines. As they approached, an evil and sinister aura that was even denser and more terrifying than before suddenly assaulted their faces. Perfected Lord Vast River, Guan Xinting, and a few uncorrupted disciples felt a deep chill in their hearts, especially as they saw the familiar faces of their fellow disciples approaching with bone-chilling, sinister smiles. "Quick, leave! We must leave this place immediately!" Suddenly, perfected Lord Vast River hollered. In the next instant, a talisman flickering with lightning appeared above his head. Crack! As perfected Lord Vast River activated the talisman, golden lightning surged from it. The approaching shadows and black mist, upon contact with the golden lightning, vanished as swiftly as snow melts under the sun. An high-grade level 5 Devilbane Lightning Talisman. "You actually possess such a talisman." The corrupted disciples of the island roared furiously, glaring at perfected Lord Vast River with the most venomous, ferocious, and chilling gazes, as if he were their most hated enemy. Among them, his direct disciples Yuan Hong and Fei Yan ominously declared, "You can't escape, none of you can." Rumble! The thunder in the sky continued to roar. The golden divine lightning shot out by the Devilbane Lightning Talisman continuously evaporated the surrounding black shadows and demonic chi. This was also perfected Lord Vast River's strongest method to deal with the current situation. He had gotten this talisman from Shen Ruyan. It was the nemesis of all evil beings. Boom! A golden Devilbane lightning, as thick as a water barrel, struck the black fog ahead fiercely, evaporating a large hole in it and revealing a way out of the island. "Let's go!" Without hesitation, perfected Lord Vast River, along with Guan Xinting and a few disciples, dashed into the hole blasted open in the fog. At the same time, the black fog and its sinister tendrils didn't remain idle. Seeing perfected Lord Vast River, and others attempting to escape through the hole, black threads that were like slippery tentacles coiled around them. "Get away from me!" Perfected Lord Vast River hollered immediately. The next moment, the Devilbane Lightning Talisman above his head erupted again with blinding lightning. Rumble! A more intense explosion sounded, and a vast swath of the black fog was evaporated again. Not wasting any time, perfected Lord Vast River and the others rapidly made their way towards the exit of the island. However, just as they were about to leave, several figures suddenly blocked their way. Boom! A defensive treasure in front of perfected Lord Vast River flickered rapidly before dimming, and he was sent flying backward, along with Guan Xinting and the others, back into the depths of the island. The eerie laughter of Yuan Hong and Fei Yan rang out again. "We told you you can't escape, none of you can." But at that moment, perfected Lord Vast River wasn't paying attention to them. Instead, he was fixated on the figures that had just appeared. You are the four ancestors of the Celestial Law Sect. Affected Lord Vast River finally recognized them. But this realization only made his heart sink further. He noticed that these four from the Celestial Law Sect were in the same corrupted state as his own disciples. They too had been contaminated. This realization brought a sense of shock and hopelessness. One had to know that these individuals were nascent souls like himself. Moreover, other than the fourth ancestors of the Celestial Law Sect, the cultivation and strength of the other three ancestors were actually above his. If even they had succumbed, what chance did he have? This realization caused perfected Lord Vast River's face to turn pale. This was because he saw that the four cultivators from the Celestial Law Sect had already taken out their respective puppets. In an instant, 10 level 5 puppets appeared. Including the four of them, there were a total of 14 nascent soul level combat strength. How was he supposed to fight? Even if he still had the level 5 Devilbane Lightning Talisman. So what? He only had one. Moreover, the Devilbane Lightning Talisman's power had already been depleted by more than half in the previous use. The rest could only support him, with 2 or 3 more bolts of lightning at most. It's over. Everyone could not help but have this thought. The Devilbane Lightning Talisman gradually turned into flames and dissipated after striking the last bolt of golden lightning. Everyone, including perfected Lord Vast River, could not help but feel despair. At this moment, an extremely sharp golden sword chi suddenly tore apart the black fog. With one strike, the four perfected lords of the Celestial Law Sect and their level 5 puppets were all obliterated. There was a splash. Black threads began to dance crazily in the air. They seemed to want to escape, but they also seemed to want to find a new host. However, before they could do anything, backslash. The golden sword chi that carried a sharp killing intent descended again. With a swish, the black threads immediately melted inch by inch like ice and snow encountering a blazing sun, before finally turning into nothingness. Arg! A shrill scream echoed through the air as the remaining black shadows within the spiritual island of the vast river began to frantically scatter, as if terrified by something horrifying. HMPH. At that moment, a cold snort resounded across the island, and Jiang Chengshuan's figure appeared. With a simple, unadorned strike of his sword, the fleeing shadows were torn apart, vanishing into nothingness. The ominous cloud that seemed to loom over the spiritual island of the vast river dispersed with Jiang Chengshuan's arrival. Affected Lord Vast River, Guan Xinting, and the others couldn't hide their relief and gratitude. They looked at Jiang Chengshuan and immediately thanked him. Thank you for saving our lives, Senior Jiang. Don't mention it. Jiang Chengshuan nodded slightly and then said, Stay here for now. I haven't yet caught the source of these black shadows. Don't go anywhere else, I'll be back shortly. After speaking, he transformed into a streak of golden light and disappeared from their sight. In the Nova waters, Jiang Chengshuan, transformed into a beam of golden light, quickly locked onto a specific area. His eyes flashed coldly as the pure Yang true treasure, the golden void sword, burst forth with brilliant sword radiance. Boom! A massive column of water erupted from the sea, within which countless twisted and ferocious faces appeared, including many disciples from the spiritual island of the vast river. Yan Zicheng was also among them. It's indeed you, these wicked beings. Yang Chengshuan's eyes grew colder. The golden void sword in his hand seemed to have sensed its master's intentions, and the sword chi on its surface became sharper. Kai 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 kai. The towering water column was split apart, and the distorted faces within shattered to pieces. Whoosh! But at that moment, a huge black shadow, existing between illusion and reality and surrounded by endless demonic flames, suddenly burst forth from the broken water column. It traversed a vast distance in the blink of an eye, nearly vanishing from Jiang Chengshuan's sight. With a cold snort, Jiang Chengshuan said, Think you can escape from me? As he spoke, a rock phantom suddenly flashed behind him. In the next moment, his entire body turned into a straight golden line. With a swish, not only did it catch up to the black shadow in the blink of an eye, but it also instantly swept past its body. Arg! An ear-piercing scream sounded in the air. The entire black shadow, as if cut by something extremely sharp, disintegrated into countless fragments and vanished without a trace. Huh? At that moment, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes lit up with spiritual light. He noticed a faint shadow slowly fading away at the spot where the black figure had disintegrated. Accompanying it was a taunting telepathic message that entered Jiang Chengxuan's ears. He, as expected of Taoist Chengxuan, you can even detect such a minor fragment of my consciousness. But I advise you not to bother trying to locate my true body. At least for now, you won't be able to find me. However, don't worry, there will come a day when we will meet face to face. Hadiha. With a series of light chuckles, the shadow completely dispersed, along with the telepathic message. Yang Chengxuan calmly watched as this happened. After a while, he withdrew his gaze and turned to look behind him. There, figure enshrouded in surging ocean waves slowly emerged. It was Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean, the sole formation Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean from Black Sea Pavilion. He approached Jiang Chengxuan and asked, Taoist Jiang, have you dealt with that person? Jiang Chengxuan shook his head. What I just encountered was merely a fragment of the opponent's consciousness. His true body's whereabouts are still unknown. Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean. Clearly, he realized that the situation was tricky. Because according to their current understanding, the other party was elusive and hard to detect. Under normal circumstances, it would be very difficult for ordinary cultivators to detect his methods. They wouldn't even know when they had fallen for it. For example, perfected Lord Vast River and the cultivators of Celestial Law Sect. They had unknowingly fallen for the trap. Well, at the same time, Jiang Chengxuan and Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean raised their heads and looked into the distance. There, at this moment, a few rays of light flew over. They were Shen Ruyan, Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang, and Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain. After 100 years, the 5 Heavenly Lords gathered again. How did it go? Did you find any clues? At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan asked Shen Ruyan and the 2 Heavenly Lords. Shen Ruyan shook her head at Jiang Chengxuan's question. I didn't find anything specific on my side. When I rushed over, everyone there had already died. Me too, Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang said with a dark expression. Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain also shook his head. Looks like the situation is pretty much the same for all of us. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan also told them about the situation on his side. After a while, the 5 of them landed on the spiritual island of the vast river. The appearance of 5 heavenly lords simultaneously surprised perfected Lord, Vast River and Guan Xinting, along with the other survivors on the island. However, before they could speak, Jiang Chengxuan waved his hand at perfected Lord Vast River and the others. Island Master Vast River, there's no need for the formalities. Go straight to the point and tell us in detail what happened before our arrival. Upon hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, perfected Lord Vast River and the others did not dare to be negligent. Immediately, they told Jiang Chengxuan and the others everything they knew. When Jiang Chengxuan and the others heard this, they couldn't help but look at each other. Jiang Chengxuan said, Fellow Taoist, what do you think? Previously, I had specially deduced that person and the result was that he was currently in the territory of the demon race. I've tried calculating the whereabouts of that person, and the results suggest he's currently within the demon race's territory. Given these events, it's increasingly clear that he or those people have reached some sort of agreement or even collaboration with the demon race. In other words, if we really want to find those guys, we have to go to the demon race territory, right? Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain asked hesitantly. Jiang Chengxuan nodded and said, that is correct. Is there any way to lure them out? Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang asked. I'm afraid that's very difficult, unless there's something that can attract them and force them to leave the demon race's territory. Jiang Chengxuan pondered and said. At this moment, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean said, Fellow Taoist Jiang, did you deduce their background when you were calculating? Or rather, do you have a rough guess? Well, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly fell into deep thought. Shortly after, specks of spiritual light appeared on his fingers. The gazes of the people present could not help but constrict slightly. They could already tell that Jiang Chengxuan had started his new calculations. At this point, him knowing the heavenly calculation technique was no longer a secret to those present. Soon, mysterious auras began to appear on Jiang Chengxuan's body. About 5 minutes later, Jiang Chengxuan ended his calculation. He looked at everyone present and pondered for a moment before saying, I can't completely deduce the exact background of these people. It seems there is an extremely mysterious power concealing information about them. However, after expending a bit of my lifespan, I managed to capture some snippets of information about them. This was the true power of the heavenly calculation technique. Even if your information and heavenly secrets were obscured, it could still find clues through countless tiny gaps. The catch was the willingness to pay the price. Even if the target was a realm higher, useful information could be gleaned. If I am not mistaken, those individuals or the people behind them are likely connected to a true demon inheritance, but which specific inheritance it is, I cannot ascertain. True demon inheritance. The others' expressions shifted slightly upon hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words. Clearly, they all knew very well that the so-called true demon inheritance was an inheritance that surpassed the upper realm and was connected to the immortal realm. In other words, the other party actually had an inheritance that was connected with the immortal Tao. Even for these cultivators, who were staunchly aligned with the righteous path, the idea of an inheritance linked to the immortal Tao was incredibly significant and difficult to ignore, despite knowing it might be beyond their reach. Cough, cough. At that moment, Shen Ruyan suddenly coughed. When Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain and the others heard it, it was like a thunderclap that woke them up. For a moment, their expressions could not help but be a little awkward. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan continued. Everyone, I actually haven't finished what I said just now. Although they are related to a true demon inheritance, I believe that what they possess is incomplete, likely just a fragment or a remnant. Otherwise, if it were a complete true demon inheritance, with my current level of power, I wouldn't have been able to deduce anything about them. Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain and the others finally reacted. Indeed, if the other party really had the complete true demon inheritance, it would definitely not be like this. With the techniques and power that come with such an inheritance, if their intention was to dominate or transform their world, they likely would have succeeded by now. The need for such intricate and complex schemes would be unnecessary. At this moment, everyone suddenly felt enlightened. Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean suddenly said, if that's the case, do you think it's possible to lure those guys out if we fake the secret realm of the ancient true demon? Huh? The suggestion caught everyone by surprise, but soon their eyes lit up with realization. It had to be said that if this matter could really be done, there was a 70 to 80% chance that they could lure those guys out. The only problem was that faking a true demon inheritance was not an easy task. First of all, they would need to possess something akin to a true demon inheritance, even if it was just a fragment or a remnant. Secondly, creating a convincing secret realm would require at least one, preferably more, level 6 array masters, as the task involved spatial manipulation and required deep understanding of array rules and regulations. If one didn't have enough attainments in arrays and sufficient comprehension of rules, it would be very difficult to make it. The most critical aspect, however, was ensuring that once the enemy was lured into the trap, they could be effectively contained. Based on their current knowledge and analysis, the adversaries might invite powerful beings from the demon race, possibly even demon sovereigns, to accompany them. At that time, with the strength of the 5 of them, if it was only an ordinary level 6 demon sovereign or demon lord, it shouldn't be a problem for them to deal with the other party. What they were afraid of was that if the enemy's power exceeded their expectations, it could pose a significant threat. I don't think these things need to be considered for the time being. Shen Ruyan suddenly spoke. Let's focus on what's immediately relevant, whether we can fabricate a true demon inheritance and how confident we are in our ability to do so. I'll start by saying what I can contribute. I can assist with the level 6 array aspect. As for the other aspects, I'm afraid I might not be of much help right now. In her previous life, Shen Ruyan had already achieved level 6 in array. Although her current proficiency in this field hadn't improved much, it was still sufficient to handle the upcoming tasks. I have many demonic items here. When the time comes, I might be able to use them to simulate some related auras. Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain took out a batch of demonic items from his body. These things were left behind by the demonic cultivators he killed. I have some too. Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang chimed in. However, these things were clearly not enough. What they lacked the most was the corresponding true demon inheritance. Without it, all their efforts would be in vain. Everyone, take a look at this. Could it be a fragment of the so-called true demon inheritance? At this moment, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean took out a jade fragment from his body. However, this fragment seemed to contain something extremely evil and dark, fluctuating between a liquid and a gaseous state. This is... Suddenly, Shen Ruyan narrowed her eyes. She took the jade fragment from Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean and observed it carefully. After a while, she then looked at Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean and asked, "Fellow Taoist Infinite Ocean, where did you get this thing?" Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean pondered for a moment and said, "To be honest, this thing is actually an item stored in my Black Sea Pavilion's treasure vault. Because of its strange and evil characteristics, this item had always been kept by the soul formation Heavenly Lords of the Black Sea Pavilion. I thought of this item just now and wondered if we could use it to fabricate a so-called true demon inheritance secret realm." Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean paused and looked at Shen Ruyan. "Fellow Taoist Shen, do you know this thing? Do you know what it is and where it came from?" Hearing Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean's words, everyone turned to look at Shen Ruyan. Shen Ruyan thought for a moment and said, "If I'm not wrong, this thing should be a small piece of skeleton left behind by an ancient demon. I once saw similar records and patterns in an ancient ruin. I shouldn't be wrong." "What, a small piece of the skeleton of an ancient demon?" Hearing Shen Ruyan's words, not only Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean, but even Jiang Chengxuan and the others were shocked. What kind of evil demon could still leave behind such a small piece of skeleton after such a long time? To the uninitiated, this jade fragment would certainly be mistaken for a treasured artifact. No one would have thought that it was actually a small piece of skeleton from an ancient demon. Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean couldn't help but take a deep breath. Evidently, Shen Ruyan's answer had shaken him. Apart from being shocked, he could not help but feel a lingering fear. The item that had been stored in his sect actually had such a background. The idea seemed preposterous. His expression changed suddenly as he recalled something, which did not go unnoticed by the others. Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain quickly asked, "What's the matter, Infinite Ocean?" Taking a deep breath, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean looked at the demonic bone fragment in Shen Ruyan's hand and said, "I just remembered something my Shifu once told me." "Your Shifu?" The group was surprised. If they remembered correctly, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean's Shifu was the previous ancestor of Black Sea Pavilion, also a soul formation Heavenly Lord. Could the words he left behind be related to that? Just as everyone thought this, they heard Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean continue. "I remember him telling me back then that the divine powers and methods of the mighty figures of the ancient era were really unimaginable. They are not something we can figure out with our imagination. And we should never underestimate them, no matter their current state." After he said this, it wasn't many decades before he passed away. Now that I think about it, could it be that my Shifu touched the skeleton of that ancient demon? Everyone was startled by this revelation. Their gaze instinctively fell back on the demonic bone fragment. If Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean's guess was correct, it meant his Shifu had had an encounter with the fragment, leading to such a profound statement. But this raised another question. If his Shifu knew the nature of the demonic bone fragment, why did he pass it on to Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean? Wasn't he worried that his disciple might suffer the same fate? Or was there some other special reason behind it? These were questions that no one, including Infinite Ocean, could answer. His Shifu had not disclosed anything about the demonic bone fragment. He had simply kept it as per the tradition of their ancestors. Thus, there was a problem. If there was really a remnant of an ancient demon's divine sense sealed inside, then should they use this demonic bone? After all, everyone already knew what happened to Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean's Shifu that day. Although he didn't die on the spot, as a soul formation Heavenly Lord and in his prime, it was abnormal for him to die for no reason. Perhaps there was some kind of danger sealed inside the bone. Most importantly, they weren't sure if the demon bone would be of any use to them. For a moment, the group found themselves in a quandary. But at that moment, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly reached out and took the bone from Shen Ruyan. In Jiang Chengxuan's eyes, a series of twisted images began to swirl, accompanied by an aura of profound mystery enveloping him. Before the others could fully react, Jiang Chengxuan spoke with conviction. This thing should be able to help us. Moreover, I am over 70% confident that the original dangers within it have dissipated, and it no longer poses a significant threat to us. However, the essence of the true demon it contains is exactly what we need. I suggest we try breaking it to see what happens. After all, we don't have a better option right now, do we? His gaze then shifted to Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean, clearly indicating that the final decision rested with him. Since the item belonged to him, it was only right for him to make the call. When Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean met Jiang Chengxuan's gaze, he only hesitated for a moment before nodding. Since Taoist Jiang says so, I have no objections. Fellow Taoist Everlasting Mountain, Senior Xuan Yang, what about you one? Jiang Chengxuan turned to Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain and Heavenly Lord Xuan Yang. The two of them nodded their heads. If Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean didn't have any objections, they naturally wouldn't either. Good. Seeing that no one had any objections, Jiang Chengxuan signaled Shen Ruyan to get ready. Then he grabbed the demon bone and squeezed it. A shocking scene happened. With Jiang Chengxuan's current strength, he actually couldn't break the demon bone. Everyone was also shocked. However, in the next moment, a dragon and elephant phantom suddenly appeared behind Jiang Chengxuan. His figure suddenly grew to 80 feet tall. As he exerted strength again, a cracking sound echoed through the air as the demon bone fragment finally shattered. Buzz! At that moment, a strand of pure, albeit superficial, true demon chi wafted out from the shattered demon bone fragment. Just as Jiang Chengxuan had guessed. Although this wisp of true demon chi was pure, it was only superficial, nothing more than a shell. This made everyone present heave a sigh of relief. After all, they had been worried before. They had feared that if it contained true demonic power, even a hint of it could be beyond their ability to contend with, potentially leading to disaster. Now they were relieved. While this strand of true demon chi was only a shell, it undeniably possessed the pure aura of true demon, making it perfect for their plan to lure their enemies into a fabricated true demon inheritance secret realm. Even if the enemies later discovered the truth, it wouldn't matter, as their goal wasn't to have the enemies enter the fake realm but merely to draw them out into the open. As long as they could lure them out, they would have a way to deal with them. What they were afraid of was those enemies hiding in the dark and constantly causing trouble for them. That was the real problem. Shen Ruyan, who had been prepared for this, immediately used a special method to seal the wisp of true demon chi and put it back into a jade talisman. However, just at that moment, a brilliant azure light suddenly emerged from the remnants of the demon bone, accompanied by what appeared to be characters. Everyone was taken aback by this unexpected development, following the release of the true demon chi. Soon, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean among the group showed a look of shock on his face, which quickly turned to excitement. The others noticed his reaction and became intrigued. Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain asked, "Infinite Ocean, did you find anything?" Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean, with a mix of astonishment and excitement in his voice, shared his discovery. This is the missing part of our Black Sea Pavilion's Raging Sea scripture. What? Hearing Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean's words, everyone present, including Jiang Chengxuan, couldn't help but be surprised. Previously, they had heard that the fundamental inheritance of the Black Sea Pavilion, the Raging Sea scripture, did not seem to be complete. It seemed to be missing a small part of the content. Although there was a part missing, the cultivators of the Black Sea Pavilion could still cultivate the Raging Sea scripture. However, its incompleteness could lead to certain imperfections and potential deviations. Now, the discovery of the missing part could profoundly impact all cultivators of the Black Sea Pavilion. Especially for Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean, it was definitely a very important achievement to be able to complete the fundamental technique of the sect when he was around. I understand now. At this moment, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean couldn't help but speak excitedly. My Shifu must have known that this demon bone fragment might contain the missing part of our foundational technique. But he was unsure if it also harbored any dangers. Therefore, he had never made it clear to me. Come to think of it, he probably didn't want me to take that risk. However, he was unwilling to give up on the foundational technique of the Black Sea Pavilion. That's why he didn't reveal the truth to me. It had to be said that Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean's guess made sense. As for whether the truth was as he had guessed, it was no longer important. Right now, what Jiang Chengxuan and the others wanted was something that could fake the true demon inheritance. Compared to that, the unexpected discovery of the missing part of their Black Sea Pavilion's foundational technique was a bonus. Then, we're only short of a level 6 array master. Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang couldn't help but ask. Hearing his words, the few of them could not help but frown slightly. Indeed, in the current situation, everything was ready except for the crucial element. However, finding a level 6 array master in our 9 essences cultivation world, especially in the northern border, was not an easy task. They even felt that finding the second level 6 array master might be practically impossible. Fellow Taoist Shen, is it absolutely necessary to have 2 level 6 array masters cooperate? Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain asked. The others also looked toward Shen Ruyan. Obviously, they were all very clear about the issue at hand. However, before Shen Ruyan could respond, Jiang Chengxuan, standing beside her, already interjected with a smile. I don't mean to hide it from you, but although I am not yet a level 6 array master, I am not far from reaching that level. If you all trust me and are willing to give me some time, in as short as a few years or as long as a few decades, I am confident I can provide everyone with a satisfactory answer. Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, the 3 people present were surprised. But quickly, their faces showed expressions of joy. Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang said, I didn't expect you to be so confident in becoming a level 6 array master. If that's the case, then there is nothing to discuss. We are naturally willing to wait for you. Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain and Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean also nodded. They really had no doubts about Jiang Chengxuan's ability. Since he said that he could advance to level 6 array master, he definitely had the ability to do so. Hence, this matter was settled. In the following period, the group of 5 did not rush to leave, but instead conducted a thorough search throughout the Nova Waters area. Indeed, they discovered many demon-corrupted cultivators hidden in the region. This made them feel even more apprehensive. They became more and more eager and determined to resolve the matter at hand. Half a year later, the state of Jiang, Mount Mystic Tai. It had been 2 months since Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan came back. At this moment, although Jiang Chengxuan's comprehension of arrays had yet to make a new breakthrough, his accumulation had already advanced another level. He had a feeling that given the current progress, if there were no accidents during this period, within 10 years, he should be more than 60% confident that he could advance to become a level 6 array master. Indeed, in the 9th year since Jiang Chengxuan returned to Mount Mystic Tai, in Jiang Chengxuan's seclusion cave abode, suddenly an extremely strange fluctuation emitted from within. Streams of pure heaven and earth spirit qi suddenly gathered crazily from the outside towards the entire Mount Mystic Tai. Shen Ruyan, who was guarding outside, suddenly looked into the distance. In the distant sky, the spiritual qi had already transformed into long dragons that began to fly towards their place. A smile appeared on her face. A level 6 spirit gathering array. Looks like my husband has really successfully entered the ranks of level 6 array masters. As soon as Shen Ruyan finished speaking, the dragons formed by spiritual qi crashed into Mount Mystic Tai. There was a bang. The spirit qi on the entire mountain was like a huge wave that soared into the sky, suddenly emitting an incomparably huge roar. At this moment, the entire mountain seemed to tremble slightly. All the cultivators on the mountain could clearly sense that the spirit qi on their Mount Mystic Tai was rising crazily at an extremely fast speed. This. Many disciples of the Jiang family were dumbfounded. They simply could not believe what they were experiencing. If I were to cultivate in such an environment, my cultivation would make a breakthrough in less than 3 years. That's nothing. In this environment, I'm even more than 50% confident that I can try to condense a golden core. Voices and discussions suddenly filled the air over Mount Mystic Tai. However, for Jiang Chengxuan at this moment, these were of little consequence. His true breakthrough to level 6 array master was what mattered most to him now. This was what he was most concerned about at the moment. After 9 years, he had finally taken a solid step forward in the path of arrays. Even though he wasn't yet capable of independently setting up a level 6 mountain protecting array, combining his skills with Shen Ruyan's made this no longer an issue. With a level 6 mountain protecting array protecting the Jiang family, even in their absence, he felt reassured that the family would face no significant threats. Just as Jiang Chengxuan was about to leave his seclusion, a familiar voice rang in his mind. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have reached level 6 array master. You have obtained a universal array breaking key and a special confinement array disk. There was no need to mention the universal array breaking key. It was the best tool he had ever used to break arrays and restrictions. The special confinement array disk, on the other hand, was intriguing. As its name suggested, it could be used to confine enemies or objects. Most importantly, this disk could be effective on individuals or objects one realm higher than the user, though the duration varied from several days to several months, depending on the strength and abilities of the target. It was definitely a rare trump card. With this disk, Jiang Chengxuan could even manage to face a void-returning Divine Lord, at least providing him with enough time to escape if necessary. This system was indeed considerate. Almost every reward he had received thus far had never disappointed him. At the very least, the trump cards he had were almost inseparable from the rewards given to him by the system. With these thoughts, Jiang Chengxuan no longer hesitated. He stepped out of his seclusion cave abode and emerged outside. Chapter 655, Secret Realm Success, Demonic Cultivators Opportunity. As soon as Jiang Chengxuan stepped outside, he was greeted by Shen Ruyan's laughter. Husband, congratulations. You've advanced to a level 6 array master. Jiang Chengxuan replied with a smile. I have to thank you for that. Without your relentless guidance, I wouldn't have been able to progress so quickly. The couple exchanged compliments for a while. After a moment, Shen Ruyan mentioned, during your seclusion, the cities of our human race have once again been attacked by demon beasts. However, this time, the beasts are not normal. They've been corrupted by demonic qi, turning into what we call demon monsters. Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan's smile faded. Is the demon race really committed to this path to the end? They are willing to let their low-level beasts be tainted by demonic qi. Aren't they worried about being betrayed eventually? Shen Ruyan shook her head. At this point, they probably don't have any other choice. If they don't want to be held accountable by this world and be exterminated by our human race, it seems that's the only path left for them. Jiang Chengxuan agreed with this statement. Considering the current situation, if the external powerful being ceases his attempt to refine their world, the demon race would likely be the first to suffer. The world's will is currently preoccupied and can't deal with them, but if it becomes free, the demon race might not be let off easily, including the human race. The grudge between the two races for so many years was a blood feud. If the human race had the upper hand, they would definitely not let the demon race have an easy time. The conversation didn't linger on this topic for long. Jiang Chengxuan shifted to other matters. By the way, were the demons affected when those demon monsters attacked our human cities? Shen Ruyan's expression turned grave. Husband, what I wanted to tell you is about this matter. As per the current situation, it seems that the demon race has not been significantly affected. They, along with those lurking in the shadows, appear to have confirmed that this method can bypass the protective period of our human race. Is that so? Jiang Chengxuan narrowed his eyes. If this is true, then it's going to be troublesome. Given the current situation, it's unlikely that they would dare to start a major war. However, our lower-level human cities might face significant problems. Wife, it's about time to resolve this issue once and for all. Well, you mean? Shen Ruyan's eyes narrowed. That's right. Jiang Chengxuan nodded. Inform Infinite Ocean, Everlasting Mountain, and Senior Xuan Yang. We'll set the location at. After pondering for a moment, Jiang Chengxuan said, let's set it in the ancient river desert. It's on the edge of the death desert. This way, even if something really happens, it won't affect our northern border. But before that, we need to take some precautions. Then Jiang Chengxuan told Shen Ruyan his thoughts. Half a month later, in the ancient river desert, the three heavenly lords, Infinite Ocean, Everlasting Mountain, and Xuan Yang nodded when they heard Jiang Chengxuan and his wife's plan. In that case, we will set up this fabricated true demon inheritance secret realm here, as Jiang and Shen have suggested. Good. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan immediately took out various materials for array making. Seeing this, the heavenly lords of everlasting mountain, infinite ocean, and Qiu and Yang also took out the corresponding materials from their bodies. Every material here was at least level 4. There were even many materials that had reached level 6. Yang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan wasted no time. While they used their level 6 array abilities to construct the basic structure of the secret realm, they also used their understanding of spatial rules to gradually stabilize it. The 3 heavenly lords of everlasting mountain, infinite ocean, and Qiu and Yang were all shocked. Especially infinite ocean and everlasting mountain. As veteran heavenly lords of the northern border, they could almost immediately tell that Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan's comprehension of spatial rules was on par with, or even surpassed, their own. These two, how did they cultivate to this extent in just a few hundred years? It's truly humbling. Thinking of this, infinite ocean, everlasting mountain, and Qiu and Yang did not idle. They maintained the stability of the surrounding space as per the couple's request, ensuring that the secret realm space didn't overlap or collide with the real world. And so 8 years passed in a flash. On this day, Shen Ruyan fused the Jade talisman sealed with the true demon Qi into the void before her. With her and Jiang Chengshuan's joint effort, they then sealed the void in front of them. This signified the successful creation of their fabricated secret realm. The stage is set. Next, it's time for the show to begin. Jiang Chengshuan said with a smile. First of all, we mustn't be the ones to discover this secret realm. Ideally, it should be stumbled upon by a demonic cultivator or a demon beast. They would inadvertently touch the barrier of the secret realm, triggering the phenomenon of its opening. Once they reach the point of encountering the true demon Qi, I believe those lurking in the shadows will not be able to resist. Even if they want to stay put, I'm afraid there will be those who won't agree. Fellow Taoist Jiang, are you saying? Infinite ocean, everlasting mountain, and Qiu Yang suddenly thought of something, and their expressions could not help but change. Jiang Chengshuan nodded. Then he pointed at the sky and said affirmatively. That's right, you have to know that that's the true demon Qi. If it's connected to the true demon heritage, wouldn't it tempt you? Even if you knew there was a 90% chance it was fake, wouldn't you still be tempted to check it out? Hearing Jiang Chengshuan's rhetorical question, everyone present nodded with a smile. They clearly understood that their adversaries would not let such an opportunity slip by. Even if they were aware that the chances of the realm being an actual true demon heritage were less than 10%, they wouldn't give up on it. This would be their opportunity to confront those who had been hiding in the dark. Half a year later, faint black-brown streams of airflow began to slowly meander across the surface of the ancient river desert. At first, no one noticed these streams. However, as time went on, a few months later, these airflows became more conspicuous. Another few months later, several figures with extremely concealed presences suddenly appeared in this area. They looked at the area where the black-brown streams of airflows were flowing, and their faces showed surprise and delight. This is the dark and evil Qi, greatly beneficial for our cultivation, and can help us condense demonic Qi, exclaimed a man with red eyes, unable to contain his excitement. However, he soon became puzzled. Strange, we've been to this ancient river desert before, but why haven't we noticed this dark and evil Qi until now? As they spoke, their gaze shifted towards the source of the dark Qi, a patch of black-brown sand. Could it be that there was something else hidden there, or perhaps? As the possibility dawned on them, their faces involuntarily displayed greed. If their guesses were correct, this could be an opportunity, a chance to change their current fate. Everyone, I suggest that we do not act rashly, without knowing exactly what this place is. I think none of us want such a rare opportunity to be wasted, right? So I suggest, it's best if we work together to confirm the nature of this site, and then use our individual abilities to seize the opportunity within. What do you think? As soon as the red-eyed man finished speaking, a woman with an exotic appearance chuckled in agreement. I concur with fellow Red Eye's suggestion. Since we haven't seen what's really there, there's no need for unnecessary conflicts at this point. I agree too, said a man wearing a silver mask. The others, not wanting to miss out on a potential windfall yet wary of unknown dangers, nodded in agreement. United in their decision, the group of demonic cultivators, led by the man with red eyes, approached the source of the dark and evil Qi. Buzz! Suddenly, as they neared within about 10 meters of the area, a dark black barrier appeared before them, blocking their path. "This is a secret realm barrier," exclaimed the exotic woman, startled. The others were also shocked. They really did not expect that what they saw in front of them was actually a secret realm barrier. Didn't this mean that there was a secret realm behind this barrier? The prospect of discovering treasures and inheritances within a secret realm sent a wave of excitement through the group. Unknowingly, everyone's breathing became a little heavy at this moment. Their eyes were filled with undisguised greed as they looked at the barrier. Fortunately, not everyone was blinded by greed. The man with the silver mask said, "Everyone, I admit that we might have really discovered something impressive this time. However, we still don't know what the secret realm is like. Even if everyone wants to fight, I don't think it should be now, right?" These words immediately made some of the people present, whose brains were already starting to heat up, fiercely shudder. They were pulled back from irrationality. "That's right," agreed the man with red eyes, nodding. "As I said earlier, we can compete once we enter the secret realm. Before that, I hope we can all work together to break through this barrier as quickly as possible." With that, the group calmed down. Despite their undiminished greed, they at least managed to maintain superficial composure. The group of demonic cultivators, led by the red-eyed man, then began their attempt to break the barrier. Several days later, with a light cracking sound, the barrier before them finally shattered. However, at that moment, an overwhelmingly pure, powerful, and authoritative aura burst forth from the now broken barrier, causing the very skies to change dramatically into an endless darkness. The faces of the red-eyed man and his companions turned pale. They had not anticipated such a massive upheaval upon breaking the secret realm's barrier. The commotion was so great that it could potentially attract all nearby demonic cultivators and even other cultivators from the northern border. They realized that they had very little time left and, without further hesitation, rushed towards the entrance of the secret realm. Meanwhile, on a mountain peak within the territory of the demon race, a figure cloaked in a cape stirred, his gaze seemingly piercing through the vast void, fixating on the location of the ancient river desert. Simultaneously, in a valley under the control of the demon race, a drop of blood fell from a cliff, expanding and transforming into a man clad in a blood-red robe. His gaze, too, was drawn towards the direction of the ancient river desert, as if something incredibly enticing was located there. In fact, the disturbance caused by the secret realm had attracted the attention of more than just the cloaked man and the man in the blood-red robe. Many cultivators from the northern border, including those from the demon race, were now drawn to the ancient river desert. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Swiftly, numerous cultivators began converging towards the direction of the desert. In just a few days, the area around the ancient river desert and the nearby secret realm witnessed no less than hundreds of battles. These conflicts involved cultivators from the northern border fighting among themselves, battles between the northern cultivators and demonic cultivators, and even skirmishes among the demonic cultivators themselves. In this short period, the number of cultivators who fell due to the secret realm had already reached hundreds, if not thousands, with a majority being demonic cultivators. And this was just the beginning. As time slowly passed, more and more cultivators arrived at the location. Despite sensing the extraordinary nature of the secret realm, their enthusiasm was not dampened. Eventually, after several more days, nascent soul demonic cultivators and nascent soul heavenly lords began to enter the scene. Given their opposing stances, confrontations were inevitable upon meeting. However, most of their attention was still focused on the secret realm itself. Half a month later, on one particular day, the seemingly calm secret realm suddenly erupted with a loud explosion. As it turned out, several nascent soul, heavenly lords and nascent soul demonic cultivators engaged in a fierce battle, the commotion of which was extraordinary. The fight spilled from inside the secret realm to outside, and then back inside. It seemed as if both parties were truly enraged. However, at this moment, an attack from a nascent soul cultivator and a nascent soul demonic cultivator simultaneously struck a specific spot within the secret realm. There was a soft click. An extremely pure, powerful, terrifying, and authoritative aura burst forth from that location. The aura was so overwhelming that it overshadowed the ongoing battle, placing the entire secret realm under immense pressure. Everyone was stunned by this fearsome aura. For no reason, everyone's bodies became abnormally stiff. Even if they wanted to move slightly, it became very difficult. Somewhere in the nine heavens realm, the cloaked man and the man in the blood-red robe observed the changes occurring in the secret realm below. The horrifying aura emanating from the realm shocked even these powerful beings. That aura is the aura of a true demon, they realized. Whoosh! At that moment, a figure made entirely of white bones appeared next to the cloaked man and the man in the blood-red robe. Crack! The bone figure emitted a series of crisp sounds. Soon, two ghastly green flames ignited in his eye sockets, revealing his eerie and formidable presence. He said in an extremely hoarse voice, "That's right, that's the true demon Chi." This individual was none other than the Bonchido demon lord. Like the man in the cloak and the man in the blood-red robe, he was a soul formation demon lord left behind in the world after the demon calamity waged by the powerful being from the outer world. He was one of the evil entities that Jiang Chengshuan had calculated previously. At this moment, the three of them gazed down at the increasingly intense true demon Chi below, their eyes uncontrollably revealing a deep longing and eagerness. If they could obtain the true demon Chi and the possible inheritances within the secret realm, they would undoubtedly receive unimaginable benefits. They might even be able to exchange these gains for something critically needed from their supreme master, and possibly even receive his inheritance in the future. Thinking of this, the three demon lords, especially the Bonchido demon lord, could barely contain themselves. The two of you have been observing here for a long time. How is it? Did you notice anything suspicious? Despite their eagerness, the Bonchido demon lord did not forget to be cautious and turned to the cloaked man and the man in the blood-red robe and asked. The cloaked man, known as the Venom demon lord, chuckled coldly and shook his head, saying, "I haven't noticed anything in particular, but given the current situation, we must be aware that once we show ourselves, we might be detected by those few from the northern border." The man in the blood-red robe, the Blood Sea demon lord, added in a light tone, "That's true, but I believe more strongly that if we miss this opportunity, the first to bear the consequences when our supreme master learns of this would be us." He continued, "Moreover, we have been observing for quite some time and haven't seen those few from the northern border. So if we act now, we should be safe for the time being. As long as we are quick enough, we might get what we need before they arrive." "That makes sense, so we should act now without delay," Bonchido demon lord said, his pupils flickering with ghostly flames. Venom demon lord and Blood Sea demon lord exchanged glances and didn't voice any objections. The three of them swiftly descended toward the secret realm below. At that moment, every cultivator within and around the secret realm sensed the emergence of three immensely evil, terrifying, and oppressive auras. This caused a wave of shock in everyone's heart, especially among the cultivators from the northern border, who showed deep despair in their eyes. They recognized that the three figures who had just appeared were undoubtedly soul formation demon lords. With three demon lords appearing at once, the cultivators who weren't demonic cultivators had no chance of a good outcome. To die a painless death quickly might even be considered fortunate under these circumstances. With this thought, these northern border cultivators began to burn their dharmic power and true essence in a desperate attempt to escape. HMPH. "Since you've encountered us, it's just your bad luck. Stay here," Blood Sea demon lord suddenly sneered. The next moment, countless bloodlines shot out from him, targeting all the cultivators in the vicinity. The might of a soul formation demon lord was not something these cultivators could withstand. Just as they were about to be pierced by these bloodlines and become part of Blood Sea demon lord's power, the void suddenly rippled with waves. Instantly, the bloodlines aiming at the cultivators froze in midair, and then twisted as if being wrung by a powerful force. They turned into twisted strands, and then shattered into bits of light and dissipated. "Who's there?" This scene caused a drastic change in the expressions of Blood Sea demon lord, Bonchido demon lord, and Venom demon lord. They hadn't expected a soul formation, heavenly lord from the northern border, to be hidden in this place. Boom! At that moment, three ferocious attacks answered Blood Sea demon lord and the other two. A golden sword light, a huge seal that flickered with blue light, and a sword light that was as blazing as the sun. Jiang Chengshuan, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean, Heavenly Lord Xuan Yang. "It's you three!" Blood Sea demon lord and his companions shouted in anger. Rumble! A huge explosion suddenly rose in the air. Under this huge explosion, cracks instantly appeared in the space. The cultivators present were all shocked. At that moment, they did not dare to stay any longer and fled. Including those demonic cultivators, they did not dare to stay here any longer. However, right at that moment, a large patch of cyan-colored fog suddenly covered an area of over 10,000 miles. Other than the ordinary cultivators from the northern border who were not enveloped by the fog, all the demonic cultivators who came this time, including the Bonchido demon lord and the other two, were also enveloped. Since everyone has already come, why the rush to leave? You might as well all stay. Beast chaos is coming. Yang Chengshuan's voice suddenly rang out. Hearing his words, the pupils of the three demon lords constricted. Boom! Without any hesitation, Blood Sea Demon Lord suddenly stirred up a violent wave of Blood Sea. Grotesque, twisted faces surfaced in the Blood Sea, resembling evil ghosts, attempting to tear apart the surrounding fog. Around Bonchido Demon Lord, numerous white bone spikes materialized out of thin air. They screeched sharply as they shot through the air, appearing capable of piercing the void, targeting a specific location. Venom Demon Lord's eyes glowed with a purple-black hue. Kai 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 kai. In an instant, sounds of corrosion filled the air as a vast expanse of purple-black poison fog spread out like a virus, rapidly diffusing in all directions. However, all their attacks were nullified in an instant by 3 streaks of green light, disappearing without a trace. What? The demon lords were shocked. At that moment, a blue tsunami, resembling a tornado, surged towards Blood Sea Demon Lord. Meanwhile, a sword light as fierce as the blazing sun, accompanied by roaring flames, fiercely slashed towards Bonchido Demon Lord. Both demon lords were caught off guard. Ignoring everything else, Blood Sea Demon Lord and Bonchido Demon Lord hastily summoned their treasures to confront the incoming attacks. Boom! A terrifying collision erupted once again. Just then, a figure radiating golden light suddenly appeared from the void. With a swish, it swiftly closed in on the Venom Demon Lord. Metal Elemental Divine Power. Venom Demon Lord's heart pounded with alarm as the shadow of death loomed over him. Without a moment to spare, Venom Demon Lord suddenly transformed into a cloud of poison fog, dispersing in all directions. Swish, swish. As the golden thread passed through, all the poison fog in the air evaporated. When the golden thread turned to target another section of the fog, a round shield suddenly appeared in front of it. The shield, etched with numerous mystical patterns, faced the oncoming golden thread. The golden thread that Jiang Chengshuan had transformed into slashed at the round shield, and countless flames instantly erupted. Boom, boom, boom. Venom Demon Lord's form solidified, then he was seen retreating rapidly, his body shaking. How come? Venom Demon Lord muttered in shock. One had to know that the round shield he summoned now was an extremely powerful defensive true treasure. Although it did not have the pure yang attribute, its grade had also reached level 6. Especially the fact that it was infused with a substance like the skyward sacred soil. It not only possessed the formidable defensive capabilities of earth elemental treasures, but also had the void attribute, which could nullify attacks. Yet now, his shield seemed to provide only limited resistance against Jiang Chengshuan's attack. What is going on? Jiang Chengshuan, however, showed no intention of answering his question. Instead, a faint smile appeared on his face, and 5 different colored radiances rose behind him, forming a light screen. There was a whoosh. Suddenly, the celestial shield in front of Venom Demon Lord disappeared, reappearing in Jiang Chengshuan's hand. What? This was no small matter. Venom Demon Lord was dumbfounded. He could not figure out how his treasure had ended up in Jiang Chengshuan's hands. Before he could ponder further, a bicolored fireball, golden and white, approached him rapidly. Danger! Venom Demon Lord sensed imminent peril, but this time, he had no chance to react. The bicolored fireball flashed once, and Venom Demon Lord let out a scream. Then there was a bang. In an instant, he turned into a human torch. He was burning fiercely. No matter how he tried to transform into a cloud of poison, the flames, like maggots in bone, relentlessly burned him until every trace of his existence vanished into nothingness. The bicolored flames in the sky gradually extinguished. Whoosh! In the void, a vast swath of purple-black poison evaporated into nothingness. The aura of spiritual chi swept over every person present like a torrential flood. Bonchido and Blood Sea demon lords, engaged in battle with Infinite Ocean and Xuan Yang, felt a chill in their hearts. They had not anticipated that Venom Demon Lord would fall so quickly against Jiang Chengxuan. It was almost as if he had been effortlessly defeated. No, they couldn't afford to stay here any longer. Both Blood Sea and Bonchido demon lords realized this and exchanged glances. The next moment, they released an incredibly fierce aura. A blood-colored banner and a white bone sword suddenly shone with a malevolent light. At the same time, the two demon lords spoke out. Are you sure you want to fight us to the death here? You think that only the three of us are the sole formation demon lords who were secretly left in this world this time? Hearing that, the two heavenly lords, Infinite Ocean and Xuan Yang, were stunned. However, Jiang Chengxuan's voice soon echoed from afar. Is that so? Then do you know why there are only the three of us in this place? You? The two demon lords' pupils dilated in shock, unable to believe what they were hearing as they looked towards Jiang Chengxuan. You actually... Indeed, you guessed it. But unfortunately, there are no rewards for guessing right. Jiang Chengxuan replied with an indifferent expression. I told you before, since you've come, you all should stay here with us. As he finished speaking, his golden sword radiance once again illuminated the void. Soon, the despairing roars of Blood Sea and Bonchido filled the air. At the same time, not far from the state of Jiang, a massive explosion thundered across the land. Endless lightning roared and raged, accompanied by black and white chi and a five-colored radiance. In an instant, a figure shrouded in dark light was blasted high into the sky. Moments later, even more ferocious explosions echoed within the nine heavens realm. After a long while, calm returned. Jiang Chengxuan, floating above the ancient river desert, turned to Infinite Ocean and Xuan Yang beside him and said, It seems our predictions were correct. Those beings indeed had a backup plan. Thanks to your preparations, fellow Taoist Jiang, we were able to thwart their final escape route. Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean complimented with a smile. Jiang Chengxuan shook his head and replied, You are too kind, Infinite Ocean. Our success is the result of everyone's efforts. Let's just hope no more unforeseen events occur. Fellow Taoist Jiang, do you think there are still remnants of those beings left? Heavenly Lord Xuan Yang couldn't help but ask. Jiang Chengxuan shook his head. I can't be certain at the moment. However, according to my estimation, after this ordeal, we should all be able to rest for a while. I don't believe anyone would foolishly leap out and stir up trouble at this critical juncture. Indeed, as Jiang Chengxuan predicted, the following decades were relatively peaceful in the northern border. The demon monsters that appeared earlier on did not appear again. Including the demon race, there were no big movements. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan seized this rare opportunity to focus on cultivation. A century swiftly passed, during which both their cultivations improved. Jiang Chengxuan reached the second level of soul formation, while Shen Ruyan ascended to the third level. It's a common scenario for cultivators in soul formation to experience no progress for hundreds or even thousands of years. Many reach their lifespan's end without any advancement, a commonality among many cultivators. Yet for Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, the typical bottlenecks faced by soul formation cultivators seemed non-existent. In just about 200 years, both saw significant progress. To other cultivators at their level, this was almost inconceivable. However, everything follows a pattern. Even with their extraordinary potential, without sufficient resources, advancing further in a short period would still be challenging for them. So, when several more decades passed without significant improvement in their cultivation levels, the couple finally decided to emerge from seclusion. Upon exiting, they were immediately informed of the demon race's assault on human cities. It was clear that the protection period for the human race had ended. The demon race clearly did not intend to tolerate it anymore. They immediately started the demon beast riot. However, what surprised Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan was that the demon beast riot this time was only limited to level 4 demon kings, equivalent to golden core among human cultivators. Has the demon race changed its nature? After more than 200 years of silence, they limited the conflict to the golden core level. Jiang Chengxuan asked Shen Ruyan. Shen Ruyan replied with a smile, I think it's not that they've changed, but rather they lack the confidence to deal with us. Otherwise, considering their usual behavior, they would have launched a full-scale war against our northern border the day our protection period ended. Yang Chengxuan nodded in agreement with Shen Ruyan's analysis. At their current strength, unless the demon race was willing to sacrifice a significant portion, if not all, of their resources, they posed no real threat to the northern border. However, would the demon race really go all out? Or rather, would those demon sovereigns who had lived for countless years be willing to sacrifice themselves to win the war against the human race? The answer was obviously no. So, under such circumstances, no matter how unwilling and resentful they were, they had to endure it. After all, the tragic fate of those demon lords from more than 100 years ago was not yet forgotten. If they didn't want to follow in the footsteps of those demon lords, it was best to endure for the time being. As time passed, the grand conflict between demon beasts and humans lasted for 80 years. During this period, neither the human race nor the demon race deployed forces at the soul formation level. In fact, even cultivators at nascent soul refrained from participating, as if an unspoken agreement had been re-established between the two races, reminiscent of several centuries ago. In the Western Desert, the battles between the two sides were also limited to the early stages of nascent soul. No cultivators in the mid-stages of nascent soul participated, which was rather intriguing. Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan understood that the demon race's apparent weakness was actually a strategic accumulation of strength. When the next demon calamity came, the demon beasts would probably not remain silent like before. Perhaps they would cooperate with the one in the outer world and start a massacre against human cultivators. Because through this demon calamity, it was becoming evident that the will of the 9 essences cultivation world might not be able to withstand the next demon calamity. At that time, either they would repel the invaders, or their world would be completely assimilated. In such a scenario, the demon beasts had no need to hold back any longer. Looks like we don't have much time left. Yang Chengxuan suddenly sighed deeply. Both he and Shen Ruyan were acutely aware that 1,000 years, although seemingly a long period, was actually not enough for them. At the very least, based on their knowledge, no soul formation cultivator could break through from the early stage to the late stage in a short 1,000 years. If they couldn't break through to the late stage of soul formation, they would stand no chance in the upcoming demon calamity. It was clear that in the remaining time, they would have to actively seek opportunities for breakthroughs. Merely cultivating in seclusion was no longer a viable option. After all, time waited for no one. Only by taking the initiative to seek an opportunity to break through could he win a chance of survival for himself and the entire human race in the subsequent battle. While the couple contemplated their next steps, a faint spiritual light emerged from beneath the Death Desert. Initially, no one noticed the phenomenon emerging from beneath the Death Desert, not even the soul formation heavenly lords. However, as time passed, the spiritual light emanating from deep underground grew more intense. Eventually, a vortex resembling a funnel appeared above the ground, emitting an ancient and vast aura. This finally caught the attention of cultivators across all regions, from the northern border to the western desert, the southern wilderness, the eastern end, and the central plain. Nearby cultivators, without much thought, headed towards the location. To their surprise, when they approached within a few thousand miles of the area, they found themselves unable to proceed further, regardless of their cultivation level, even if they were at the golden core or nascent soul stages. Realizing the potential danger of the area, especially since even nascent soul perfected lords couldn't approach, the cultivators quickly retreated. After all, they feared the consequences if more powerful beings like soul formation heavenly lords were to arrive, and a conflict ensued. It would be fine if nothing happened, but once something happened, how could insignificant cultivators like them withstand it? So, within a few days, all cultivators in the vicinity had cleared out. Boom! Then, after several more days, a massive shadow appeared in the sky above the site, exuding an overwhelming presence. It was a level 6 demon sovereign. At this moment, it looked in the direction of the vortex. After a moment of hesitation, its huge body rushed towards the vortex. What surprised many people was that, when the enormous shadow approached the vortex, the barrier that blocked everyone else from advancing further did not stop it at all. In just an instant, the huge shadow rushed into the vortex. This time, many people understood. The ruin that appeared in front of them, or rather, the secret realm seemed to be a place that only cultivators above soul formation could enter. Fellow Taoist Jiang, fellow Taoist Shen, fellow Taoist Infinite Ocean, fellow Taoist Xianxia. At this moment at the edge of the death desert, Jiang Chengxuan and the others, who had already arrived, could not help but look at each other. Finally, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain said, "If I'm not mistaken, this ruin should be left by Sage Dragon Master from 10,000 years ago." Sage Dragon Master. Hearing this name, Jiang Chengxuan and the others were clearly puzzled. Obviously, they didn't know who the Sage Dragon Master mentioned by Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain was. "I actually don't know much about this person," Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain continued. "However, there is some information about him in the historical records kept in my everlasting palace. It was said that this person ascended to the upper world 10,000 years ago. Due to the environment at that time, before Sage Dragon Master ascended, he specially left such an opportunity for his descendants. He was also one of the few seniors in that era who managed to ascend as an independent cultivator." "I see." Hearing Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain's introduction, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and the others more or less understood. From the looks of it, this ruin should be an opportunity left behind by Sage Dragon Master for future generations. If all of this was true, then there should be something that they could use in the ruin. Jiang Chengxuan looked at Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain and said, "Fellow Taoist Everlasting Mountain, in your opinion, can we choose to enter that ruin now?" Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain observed for a while and nodded. "I personally think so. After all, according to the historical records available to me, Sage Dragon Master does not seem to be a vicious person. Since he left such a ruin for the later generations, it should not contain too much danger. However, just to be safe, we could wait a bit longer and seize." "I think there's no need to wait any longer," Jiang Chengxuan interjected. "Right now, this ruin has just appeared, and it's the perfect time for us to seize the opportunity. Let's not forget, more people might come to this place after us. If we don't take advantage of this moment to gain the upper hand, it will become much more difficult to obtain anything once it gets crowded inside." "I agree with Taoist Jiang." Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang nodded in agreement. Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain and Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean looked at each other. "In that case, why don't we go in now?" "Yes, let's do it now," Jiang Chengxuan said in a low voice. "I suppose everyone understands our current situation. Regardless of the dangers inside, this journey is something we all need to undertake. Rather than delaying here, it's better to take a chance." After these words, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan no longer hesitated. They flashed towards the entrance of the vortex. Seeing this, Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang and the others stopped hesitating and rushed to the entrance of the vortex. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Passing through felt like crossing a barrier. Jiang Chengxuan felt a slight dizziness in his mind, which quickly disappeared. He looked up. To his surprise, he found himself still in the death desert. Wait, that's not right. This was not the death desert from the outside world, but rather a place within the ruin resembling the death desert. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes narrowed. At this moment, he realized that Shen Ruyan and the others who had entered with him were now separated from him. Furthermore, Jiang Chengxuan was surprised to find that his divine sense was rapidly shrinking in range within this place. It was reduced to merely 1,000 meters, even less than that of a golden core cultivator. Not only that, he even felt that his dharmic power and cultivation were weakened to varying degrees. It seemed that the rules in this place differed from those of the outside world. Could a ruin created by a cultivator at the soul formation really exhibit such characteristics? Jiang Chengxuan was puzzled. According to his understanding, the cultivation of someone who could create such a ruin that was different from the rules of the outside world was definitely not only at the late-stage soul formation. That was because that level was not enough to create such a ruin. Only when a cultivator reached void returning would they have a certain ability to construct such a place. Could it be that Sage Dragon Master's cultivation had actually broken through to void returning back then? If that was the case, the current situation made perfect sense. Moreover, if this place was really a ruin left behind by a void returning Divine Lord, then the opportunities that might exist inside were definitely something desired by everyone. Buzz. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly felt an energy fluctuation behind him. Immediately after, a sense of danger rushed into his heart. Without any time to think, he immediately took out the golden void sword. There was a clang. Sparks flew everywhere. A huge centipede tail suddenly turned into countless afterimages and collided dozens of times with Jiang Chengxuan's golden void sword in the air. This shocked Jiang Chengxuan. The centipede he was facing was at most a level 5 creature, yet it was able to exchange blows with his golden void sword, a level 6 pure yang true treasure. Wait! Suddenly, Jiang Chengxuan seemed to realize something critical, and his expression changed drastically.